This week, we talk about the long journey of season 8 as a whole,
where the characters started and ended up, and how they changed along the way.
And our educated wishes for season 9.
Have you ever watched something that completely rewired your brain chemistry?
A procedural network drama might not be your usual pick, but it's ours.
This is The Buddy System, a 911 deep dive podcast hosted by 3 friends who have DM'd each other enough character dissertations to earn a PhD in media literacy.
I'm Han, coming to you straight from the characters' heads.
I'm Sil, bringing you to the observation deck.
And I'm Rachel, connecting the dots with my red string.
With our powers combined,
no stone is left unturned.
And no buddy is left behind.
This episode brought to you by Repression,
Renters,
and Realism.
Welcome to the Buddy System.
This is our season 8 wrap. We're about to be so done, so over. You're never getting back together, except we are when we do our regular rewatch.
But that'll be enough time will have passed.
Yes.
That we can look at it with fresh eyes and a knowledge of what comes after, which is, I think, why we cover like the current seasons, even though we'll get to it later. So, very general season 8 thoughts. What do we think?
If you take out 14, 15, 16, pretty good season, except for the part where like Eddie's story kind of goes by the wayside. But other than that, and those episodes, good. Had fun rewatching it. Again, skipped 14 through 16.
I mean, I think I feel the same way. I enjoyed rewatching 8A, but I don't know what if it wasn't for 14, 15, and 16, like 8B was on a fucking roll. I felt like I was.
Say it.
No.
Say it.
There's too many jokes about.
Yeah, I know what you're trying
to say. There's too many jokes about what's that reference that they did? Deadpool and Wolverine? I can't even remember. The many references to call the thing that I'm about to say.
Yes.
It wasn't even, do you want to build a snowman? I don't fucking know, but I feel like I was
I
was channeling Kenny. That's where that's where I'm going to leave it at. But and then I don't know, my high went down and 14, 15, 16 appeared, and then 17 I felt like we were back on track for a second there, and then we end the season with the building collapse, like my foundation just dropped on top of me.
Oh, like a house? Like your Wizard of Oz?
Like a house fell on you? Were you wearing some ruby slippers?
Were you wearing some ruby slippers?
I guess so. But anyway, no. I mean, if it wasn't for those 3 episodes, I think I would have enjoyed it. Or I think if we could have done something differently, I mean, it really is. What I really think is kind of like what Han said. It was kind of like if they didn't write Eddie into this corner, having him in El Paso the entire fucking time and all of that.
Nobody needs Eddie in a corner.
I think it would have been better, even with what ultimately happened. With Bobby. So
I'm not even mad, and I've said this a million times, but I'll keep saying I'm not even mad that Bobby's dead. I'm just mad how it was done.
Yeah.
And how that derailed the rest of the season.
It really did feel like we took a sharp left turn around episode 14. Like I was rewatching 8A, and like honestly, it was actually kind of a hard watch for me. Like I kept just like bursting into tears.
Aww.
Tracks for you.
Which is probably surprising to no one, but just like, especially in 801, 2, and 3 with the whole like Bobby and Athena stuff, I was just like the smallest thing. And I just like, oh no. So like, surprisingly, it was a little bit harder for me to watch, but that's probably because I'm just still so close to it. And I haven't like quite figured out a way to incorporate the Bobby is dead in like my mental canon sort of thing. Like if that makes any kind of sense, like it just like keeps washing over me like, oh, this is happening. But
you've read the fics, right? Where he actually is. Have you touched any of those where he's dead? Some,
Not
right?
so much. A little bit, like small little ones, like little codas that are like more focused on Buddy stuff.
Okay.
But like looking back at season 8, I think I like as a whole, I look at it like very fondly, except for that stuff. But like it felt very. There were moments and some really big moments that were just like so exhilarating almost, and I loved where we were going, and then we took a sharp left turn and now we just have to deal with that. So but generally I think I do like season 8 very much so. On the other hand, if I look at it like a little less subjectively and look at kind of like the narrative and structure of the story being told, I have some bones to pick with that. Like I have a lot of critique on how the season fell short in some ways. So like I'm literally like of two minds of of it. I'm like I have to look at it one way or another way, and they don't. It's a little like oil and water to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think for me, this season was on par to be up there with season 4 for me. And I think like season 3 and 4 are the best of this show. Like 3 and then 4. Because I just think 3 is overall better than 4 for reasons. But
whatever could this be?
But yeah, I really thought it was going to be like up there, like right behind or right along with 4. But because of, and I really am not even going to talk about the Bobby of it all. It really is just they set all of this stuff up for Eddie and then just didn't address hardly any of it. It's just like the bare minimum, which was like him getting Christopher back in LA. Do we know how any of that happened? Really? No.
And it's like, it's not even just the Eddie stuff, which I think is the biggest of them all sort of thing. But the way 8A was setting up a lot of stuff that never really like came to fruition and or never really like had closure for a lot of stuff in season by the end of season 8. Like I understand that they can't get to it all, and I wouldn't expect them to get to everything, but it was just like it was a lot of setup and not as much follow through as I would have preferred, I think. But I'm fine if some of that stuff gets moved into season 9. That's okay.
As long as we touch upon it.
Yeah.
I feel like they did wrap up most of the stuff, even though it was like short. I feel like they wrapped it up.
I guess I would have just wanted a little more time with it then. For like what wrap up we got for some of these things, like Hen and Karen and adopting Mara and
but that's the thing.
Maddie's
that's where the Bobby
pregnancy
effect comes in, where it's like the things that should have had like some time to shine and have their own space because they're big storylines for those characters. Kind of got put in a little tiny box because
like vacuum sealed almost.
What should have been big moments became micro moments just because of like having to focus on the Bobby of it all.
Yeah, which is a big moment.
Yeah.
But generally, I liked it.
Yeah, overall we like it, but we have
questions, comments, concerns.
I mean, there are episodes that I will definitely be revisiting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think also for me, it's I don't know. I think I did like it. I definitely liked it more than season 7. I definitely like it more than 6, more than 1, more than I have to rewatch 5 because I think there is some cohesive storytelling in 5.
I think because the Eddie stuff in 5 is so good, it's hard for me to compare them right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's up there, but it's not.
Yeah.
But I don't know where up there right now.
Yeah. And I do think like some of the episodes that we got and some of the big moments that we got are like really, really up there in like the best of 911 kind of stuff. Like a lot of, like 806, 809, 810, that kind of stuff, I think is like a shooting right up to like some of the top of the list of like 911 classic stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we have some superlatives.
If
you don't know what superlatives are, they are in the yearbook in America. I don't know. Does everyone do superlatives or is this just an American thing?
I don't know.
Who knows?
It's mostly just for like popular kids or to be mean for not popular kids, but it'll be like most likely to succeed.
It's pure
most likely
voted.
Yeah, exactly.
Like titles and
So this is pure voted by the three of us, and by voted we mean made up completely. So Buck we have as most likely to kiss, fuck, or marry his straight best friend before admitting he's in love with him.
Oh my god. We have Eddie, who is most likely to accidentally flash his neighbors.
dancing in his underwear will do that.
Yeah.
Bobby has been voted by us as the most likely to give bad advice, even on his deathbed.
At least he was consistent till the very end.
Oh, God.
Oh my god. Okay.
We have to make jokes about it. It hurts too much.
Athena is the most likely to serve cunt at a funeral.
Yes.
Yes. Widow chic at its peak. Anyway, Ravi, most likely to pull an Irish goodbye at a party.
He's just dipping.
Yeah. He's just there with some people and then he just peace out. Bye.
Hen is most likely to call you out on your Freudian slips. She's not letting you get away with anything.
Good for her. Maddie is most likely to get air tags put in all of her shoes. As she should.
Honestly.
Yep. Both shoes.
Find my friends on all times.
Yes.
And finally, Chimney, most likely to survive a nuclear fallout along with the cockroaches.
He is surviving everything.
Yep.
And he better.
Deadly virus, rebar to the head, encephalitis.
Other
what
deadly
else?
virus.
Stab
multiple
Stab
times.
in the
Multiple
gut.
times.
Yeah.
Dean Winchester could never.
Oh.
And that is our supernatural mention of the night.
It's like every day is mystery spot for Chimney.
Oh no. But he survives.
At least he didn't get death by tacos.
Without supernatural intervention. Right, so I think we're going to get into our character arc highlights. If this is your first rap with us, this is different than our normal character analysis. We're kind of looking at things more from a zoomed out perspective and then just highlighting like where they started, where they ended, and like a couple things to keep in mind going forward. So
sorry, I'm reading the summary. Continue. Let me know when it's my turn.
Scylla's going to read most of these because she wrote most of these. I wrote Ravi's. It's the most unserious one. I'm sorry. I didn't know what the vibes were supposed to be.
I know. Alrighty. So
move over, Edmundo. There's a prettier princess at the 118. Now that Bobby's dead, he's probably here to stay. Yay. But also, yay.
Our doe-eyed baby girl was called Eddie one too many times for his liking, and after a night of quarters and stories about the dude, he threw Buck's ex at him out of self-preservation. He misses a baby at a call, then tries to quit, but Buck tells him to sit and stay, and he's nothing if not a good boy, so he does. Eddie saved him from a collapsing building, so he ran into his big, strong arms, totally oblivious or uncaring, valid, to the moment he was interrupting. 11 out of 10. Keep Ravi on our screens always.
Hey.
Amen.
Incredible.
I love Ravi with my entire heart.
We all do. I think we're all a little protective of.
Yes. So, this season, Ravi started off not here. He was off screen.
Where did our Ravi go?
But he ended the season very trauma bonded and very much in the inner circle because he is in the family. He is in the room
where it happens.
Yes, with baby boy Robert Nash, Han, and everyone else. So he's moving up in the 118.
Yeah, they really like squashed a whole lot of Ravi in that second half of season 8, like very quickly. And not that they needed to endear him to us because he was already endeared, but like we love it. So we like to give a little like highlight of their arc, like something that I think we liked the most of what happened for the characters. And I think, you know, Ravi's baby's first federal crime with him going against the army's orders. was a pivotal moment for him, character-wise.
I think it's one of the biggest things we've gotten to show like his character as a person and like his values and like what he's willing to do for the people on his team and the people he cares about. So that's why I kind of thought it was like his biggest moment.
Yeah, I really think it really shows like what he's like, how he's in it with the 118 now. Like, like he's really in it with them, and like, you know, Bobby was like, okay, you don't have to do it, but he was like, no, I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna open the thing because, you know, he's now a part of the team, and he's really,
unfortunately, now that is his circus and those are his monkeys.
Exactly.
He's committed.
I think he tried like smartly so to kind of like stay on the outside of all the drama and craziness that they have going on, but you know.
Yeah, that's fair, but also once they pull you in,
he's in it now. He's in it for life, man.
Yep.
And then a couple things just to keep in mind, possibly for later going forward with Ravi. I fear for him. I fear for him truly because I think that like he either is going to have like some hero worship or like some putting Eddie on a pedestal because of Eddie saving his life. And because of like just like generally how cool Eddie is and how cool he seems to think Eddie is, which I feel like is partly Buck's fault.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So I don't know if there's going to be some tension there between him and Buck, or if Eddie is going to find it annoying. I don't know. But I do know, or strongly suspect, they're going to continue to use this man as a buffer between the two of them.
Oh, yeah.
And Godspeed, he is our strongest soldier.
He is going to have to continue to put up with the Buck and the Eddie of it all now that they are in the same vicinity again. And hats off to him. Good luck, my guy.
I salute you, man. Good luck with that.
It's going to be very interesting to show I think you're right. I think there is definitely going to be an emphasis on Buck and Ravi as well to show like what an actual platonic friendship looks like for Buck and realize, oh, that is not what this is with Eddie. So I think he's going to be, Ravi's going to be a little bit of this catalyst, maybe, or just like a good, like, compare contrast. It's like, oh, one of these things is not like the others. So that'll be exciting to see. I'm also just looking forward to seeing more of Ravi.
More of Ravi, more of his story.
His development. I think there's a lot that we can play with that.
Just talk about everybody's favorite lesbians.
So, from the top.
Make it drop.
We begin the season for Hen with her and Karen fighting to get their foster license back after councilwoman Olivia Ortiz found a way to revoke it and take Mara away from them, among other things, like putting Gerard in charge of the 118. Boo. She and Karen present their case in front of a judge to reinstate their foster license, but unfortunately, evidence was brought in that she and Karen had been in contact with Mara. They lost that case, but Hen didn't give up, and she decided to confront the councilwoman herself, which is also where we found out that she was the one who put Gerard, but with the help of Bobby, Gerard was convinced to go kind of undercover to have the councilwoman reveal all of her dirty tricks. And Hen used all of that to her advantage and presented it in a town hall and got the councilwoman to drop out of the mayor's race. And she managed to get Mara back home and reinstate her foster license. Yay! But also, lol. I mean, we really thought that this was the last time we were putting the Wilson kids in danger, huh? But no, Denny gets an NDE. Woohoo! You know, when we said we wanted an NDE, and I guess a kid in quote unquote danger, we meant Christopher, not Denny, but hey, whatever. But anyway, okay, let me backtrack a bit. So Ken, oh my God. Hen and Karen. Okay, so let me backtrack a bit. Hen and Karen. Stop! This is supposed to make you guys laugh, not me. Anyway, so backtracking a bit because yes, Denny gets his NDE. Hen and Karen had a bit of an argument beforehand where Karen brings up that Hen misses out on the big moments. And this happens to be Mara's first Halloween with them. And she does try to get the day off, but Bobby does the thing that he does where he's like, well, you and Chimney, because it really was Chimney that was also involved because he also wanted to be there for G's first maybe not first Halloween, but G's Halloween as well. So like they had to kind of like figure out which one is actually taking the day off and which one is not taking the day off. They both decided that they're not going to take the day off. And yay, I love Friends. Anyway, so yeah, Denny almost dies. But because Hen was also working that night and happened to be in the area, she and Karen were able to save Denny. Yay!
Yay.
And then going forward into the season, for some fucking reason, everyone, including her own wife, forgot her birthday. I know. So out of character, I guess. But I also get it. At least Eddie knew about it because Facebook. But anyway, I mean, personally, I do love that episode for Hen because everyone had to go and show her all of the love ever. And then the Contagion arc happened, which she was out of it for the most part and out alone.
Out along.
And then we have Hen mourning Bobby, but also trying to be supportive of Athena and Chimney because she's in the middle. And then everyone wants her to be captain, but she doesn't want to. So we end the season with her turning down the captaincy. No. Michelle. But I'll take Captain Chimney. And she and Karen had officially adopted Mara by the end. The end.
Yay. Yay.
Out along.
Out along. I want to say that now instead of out of pocket. That was out along.
Oh my god.
Remember Tumblr speak where it was like,
Yes.
I need that, like I need air.
Uh-huh.
something like I'm out of lung.
Is that the new version of I can't breathe?
Yeah. God, I'm out of lung.
So Hen and Karen start this season Mara-less. And then they end the season adopting Mara. So yay! Yay! And we're done now with the whole them struggling to have expanded their family.
Expand their family. No
Right,
more.
we're done.
It's done. Family done.
They're tired. We're tired.
Happy.
We're all tired. We did it. We did it.
Right?
It took 7 years. We're good.
Are we done
God.
though?
It did better. Not that I don't want them to have more children. I'm just done with them struggling
Yeah.
about their family. And I think that's one of the reasons why Invisible was such a strong episode for Hen, because it dealt.
It's an episode about Hen.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like she had her own troubles, but it wasn't related. Like it was a little related to her family, but not like the can't have their kid way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the highlights of Hen's arc was her decision to not take the captaincy. Ironically enough, I know we were all gunning for it and she was the obvious choice, right? But I think especially with her conversation with Athena, it's more about her choosing personal fulfillment over expectations, right? So she prioritizes being a hands-on paramedic and she wants to prioritize her family, especially now that it's finally complete. So I think that whole decision for her was more about it's okay to choose what brings you joy as opposed to chasing the title and advancement and stuff like that. So I think that was a very strong moment for her, and it mirrored what we saw with Athena from season 2 when Athena was offered that lieutenant position as well. So I know it's it would have been so cool to have Hen be captain as a Black female lesbian in charge of a whole station, but I understand, and I think it's the right decision for her because it's not about the title, it's about what brings her joy, and that's her job as it is and her family.
Yeah.
I think that was a strong moment for her.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Then I guess just a couple things to keep in mind going forward. That one definitely I think will be something to keep in the back of your head. Because I know there are a lot of people who are still holding on to her being captain, and I get it. But
it could still happen one day.
Sure, but like think back to when she was pursuing becoming a doctor and why she stopped doing that. This is very similar because she turned down being a doctor because she felt called to make the most difference as a paramedic.
And I think this is very similar.
And it's very similar.
Was this season 5 as well?
Or was it 5?
No,
I think it was 5.
So this is another check off on the season 5 redo.
Redux.
Yeah, Redux.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I think maybe keep in mind is if you remember from the end of season 7 when we have that montage of like Bobby kind of wrapping things up with everyone like as their captain, unbeknownst to them that he's retiring, right?
Yeah.
And he tells Hen, aren't the only kids you're raising, and the camera pans to Buck and Eddie.
Yeah.
So I think keeping that in mind and keeping in mind the scene that we see with Eddie at Karen and Hen's place, that we might be getting to see her having more conversations with Eddie and or Buck where they're confiding in her frustrations about each other.
That would make a lot of sense to me because that would also kind of position Hen in like a leadership role, but not in like an official like captaincy leadership role, but like as
an emotional one. Like she's the therapist. Friend. Let's be real.
Yeah. She is.
She's the mom friend / therapist friend. They're normally the same person.
Yeah. And they should also listen to Karen more.
Yeah.
She's the smartest one.
Exactly.
Just a fact.
Shall we make like Santa? Shimmy down the chimney. So go.
Okay, so Chimney. So I think we find Chimney in a very safe place in the beginning of the season with Maddie. He's helping Hen and Karen with fostering Mara temporarily. Then we see him concerned about Maddie wanting to have another kid, but he came around to it because he wanted G to have a sibling that would also protect her. But then Maddie goes missing. Well, we know that she got kidnapped, but Chimney had thought, like he was spiraling and he had thought that she had left without saying a word, just like in season 5, and that it had to do with her pregnancy. But with the help of G, smart baby girl, she reveals that there was also someone in the house with Maddie when she was kidnapped. Chimney races to Detective Brayburn's house to reveal that information to her, only to be met at gunpoint, because of course.
And it all goes downhill.
But then he gets saved by Maddie, and then he tries to save her while she's bleeding out after she got her throat slit. And they both live happily ever after. Until, of course, the fucking contagion arc. Because, of course, let's also give Chimney a deadly disease. Like, why the fuck not?
We already did this.
Anyway, Chimney's going through organ...
We just did this last season.
For real, we just did this. Chimney is going
Buck or Eddie NDE, not everyone else NDE.
No, for real. Tim, I'm begging you to fucking listen to us. Anyway. So Chimney's going through some organ failure and coughing up blood. I think he's also like having some nosebleeds. I don't really remember because I didn't rewatch those episodes.
His organs were like basically failing and then all the blood was coming out of his nose. Basically.
Yeah. Gross. And while he was in the middle of dying, he had time to think about how he was potentially dying and leaving his kid and how angry he was about his father leaving him. And he asks Bobby to take care of Maddie and the kids while he was gone, literally preparing to die. But luckily, Athena came in just in time with the cure. And then unfortunately, it's revealed that Bobby was also infected and died. Chimney wrestles with some of that survivor's guilt and anger, not really knowing what to do with his new chance of life that Bobby has pretty much given him, Bobby and Athena, technically. He really wanted to do that thing that he had asked Bobby to do for him, which was, take care of Athena. and help Athena in any way that he can. But, you know, Athena was pretty frigid towards him, but that was up until like the building collapse. And then they were able to work together and save the people who were trapped, and they were able to patch things up. And I guess he and Maddie decided to call their new baby Robert Nash Han.
The way you had to steal yourself for that.
Well, actually,
Robert.
I actually wrote to call her new baby Baby Nash. Well, to call their new baby Nash, but then I was like, let me just say the whole name. Whichever you want to use. Anyway.
If we aren't calling the baby Nash, I have questions.
Yeah.
The 911 Nashville spinoff is just the baby.
Is that why it's so white?
Oh, God.
White.
It's reincarnated Bobby Nash.
The baby's not.
I know the baby's not, but if we're saying it's like reincarnated Bobby Nash.
Oh, I think I'm crying.
That's the joke. Anyway, Chimney.
Okay.
Started the season with 2 kids at home. Ended the season with 2 kids in a hospital. They weren't home yet. But,
close enough.
Yeah, but
now with more survivor's guilt.
Yay! It was free, no additional charge.
Just tag that onto the hospital.
Wow, guys. Wow.
Oh my God. Okay. So I think we can all agree that the highlight of his arc is the speech that he gives in the finale in episode 18.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is just it's very Chimney.
It's
very Chimney. It's very Chimney looking around and being like, where, because he's a helper, right? Like he and Bobby do share that in common, right? That they're helpers, and Chimney can be a good leader. It's just not like his neutral state like it is Bobby's, I think.
He has to like grow into it a little bit, and we've seen him try to before, and I think this is the moment where he was like finally kind of ready to embrace it.
Yeah.
And because it's his way of honoring Bobby.
His way of honoring Bobby and keeping his family together.
Yeah, I think what really put him back in the running for the captaincy for me was when he was talking to Hen about her saying yes. It was like, I think around the end of 17. And he says something about like needing more time. And I'm like, oh, because like he really wants her to do it, because then if she doesn't do it, then he's going to have to do it. But he really needs that time to kind of like step into it.
Yeah.
He's had the whole Athena situation, and then like trying to go through all of that grief. So like he really needed that time to try to step into it. But like I'm sure with that last call with the building collapse, like that's when he just figured, no, we all need to stick together, and like he actually does end up stepping into it.
But also to that point, I think that's whether or not he will really want it. I think that is the turning point where everybody else sees him as the leader. So he will almost, I think, even if he doesn't necessarily feel like he's entirely ready for it, I feel like the rest of the 118 will be the ones to be like bestowing it upon him, kind of. And then he will like take on that mantle because they see him as the leader, even if he doesn't feel like he's quite ready yet. I think that shows that he is, and everybody else sees that, especially with Hen calling him Cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are just a couple of things to like keep in mind, like looking forward into next season. I think we're going to see him stepping up as like an interim captain, and then it's not so interim. Like he's like, I think, like Rachel said, it is just kind of going to be bestowed upon him because he will be earning it. I think we're going to see a complete opposite of the previous experience with him as captain. Yeah. So I think like rewatching the episodes where he was captain, like over the hiatus, like leading into the next season, and maybe his experiences with Gerard and some of his big moments with Bobby, talking to him when he was captain, like that kind of stuff. would be good to keep in mind going into season 9 for his arc. The other thing to look out for is I do not think we are over the being a boy dad anxiety.
Oh, no.
No.
Yeah.
It's going to be different for him.
For sure.
That'll be interesting.
On to Maddie.
So again, we see Maddie and Chimney helping out Hen and Karen, fostering Mara temporarily. And this experience brings up the question it's not really a question, but it does bring up whether the Hans want to have another kid. Spoiler alert, she's already pregnant, but she's really concerned about Chimney's reaction about it. She didn't want to be treated like she's broken. But she and Chimney end up having a heart-to-heart, and they are looking forward to the pregnancy. Later in the season, we see Maddie in her Scream Queen era, after she's faced with the nightmare of a call in the form of the weepy voice killer. That's what we were calling it, right?
Rachel and I both just went,
Okay. Maddie, with the help of Athena and Detective Brayburn, they try to solve the case of the weepy voice killer, and when it seemed like the case was solved after she tells the weepy voice killer to slay the monster on a recorded line at 911 dispatch.
Oh my God.
Oh, she's so crazy.
On a recorded line. It's
Her and Eddie really should be best friends.
Yeah.
Truly the craziest. The craziest
They are the crazy girls.
911.
Yeah.
Anyway, Maddie gets kidnapped from her home, and the weepy voice killer is revealed to be Detective Brayburn.
Shock. Yeah.
Truly. I don't know. Anyway, we'll probably talk about that later. Anyway, Maddie is held hostage in the basement. She tries to find ways to escape, she was able to cut herself loose at one point, but Brayburn returns with fentanyl in an attempt to finally kill Maddie once and for all. But Maddie fights back, and my anxiety shot the fuck up, and for a good reason, because Brayburn slits her throat. And if you want to see my live reaction, please go to our Patreon and be one of our buddies with benefits.
No, actually, it was like crazy.
Yeah. That was honestly one of our best reactions, I think.
We legitimately went into shock, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I guess realism doesn't exist here because Maddie was actually still alive and was able to save Chimney before Brayburn kills him. The crowd cheered.
Yay!
Yay! But of course, with this kind of experience comes trauma, and Maddie loses her voice temporarily. But of course, it was her love for G that helped her find her voice back. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! And for the rest of the season, I mean, there's a point where Maddie is Buck's therapist once again about Buck's love life, but she's really there to just try to help guide. Please save her. But other than that, she's still going through the horrors.
For real.
But she's also the 118's woman in the chair, especially during the Contagion arc. She does what she does best. I'm going to keep calling it the Contagion arc. It's honestly its own separate entity. I can't say...
It exists in its own bubble.
Yeah. So... yeah. So she does what she does best and was able to help the 118 during that emergency. Unfortunately, Chimney gets infected with the virus. And really, if she thought she was going to lose Chimney to Brayburn, she could have lost Chimney to the virus during this arc. But thankfully, Chimney comes out of this alive thanks to the help of basically everyone, including Maddie. And as we near the end of the season, Maddie becomes a support for Chimney as he goes through his grief over Bobby. We still see her working at Dispatch and helping the 118 as much as she can. And finally, in the last episode of the season, she gives birth to baby Nash. The end.
Yay. Yeah, so I think, just to summarize the summary.
The summary. Listen, too much shit happened in this fucking season.
There was a lot.
To even shorten it into like stupid blurbs. I really couldn't. Just apologize. I'm apologizing to everyone in advance. Sorry.
No, I love them.
I'm so angry.
So Maddie, similarly to Chimney, started with 2 kids at home, and she ended the season with 2 kids at home and or in the hospital, but with more kidnapping trauma. Yay!
Woohoo!
That was a lot to go through. I will save that. was going to be like, what happened to the joy of the pregnancy? Okay. But anyways, I think we can agree that the highlight of her arc, of Maddie's arc, is finding her voice, and specifically finding her voice because of G. She had her Little Mermaid Ariel moment, okay?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I thought that was a really great, 12 was a great, powerful episode for her and her recovery of that, and just like knowing that she isn't in physical danger anymore for Brayburn, but like there are definitely still scars there, and working through that and finding her voice again because of her love for her kid, I thought was just very quintessential Maddie.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see more of her like being happy and pregnant, nesting, getting ready for but you know,
like really all she should have been doing was just giving Buck advice. At this point, that would have been a happier pregnancy, and then she could be like, I'm pregnant, tell him you love him. Or else.
I mean, yeah, and she could blame all that on like the pregnancy brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some things to keep in mind for later. She's so tired. She's so tired of Buck. She's so tired of him and his tragic, stupid bisexual ass. I think next season she's gonna bonk him a little harder in some way. I really think something's gonna happen because he's so dumb. She's so tired. She's gonna be so sleep deprived.
I was just about to say, especially with a new baby, that she is not gonna have enough time for any of his
bullshit
craziness.
Yeah. She's gonna be juggling 2 kids, her grief-ridden husband who is now a captain of the 118, and then he's gonna come over and be like, you'll never believe what Eddie did, and she's gonna be like, let me hold your hand while I tell you this. Shut the
Yeah. And she's going to be juggling her job because
exactly
she loves it so much.
Yes.
So it's like, Maddie's going to have a full plate.
Yeah, she is.
So, it's still not going to be a direct bonk because she is very much, I think, of the belief that he needs to figure out on his own. But, we're going to see, we're going to continue to see, go to her for advice and her be like, is this the time? No, it's not. He's so stupid.
Yeah. And I think it'll also be interesting to see how the dynamics change with her with 2 kids, and especially with G and a baby brother. And I'm wondering if we'll get any like Buckley sibling sprinkled in their mirrors, parallels. I don't know.
Ooh, like maybe some little flashbacks or just some lore drop at least. We could get some of that lore drop. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See how like those dynamics are similar or different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, like I said, one of the things to keep in mind for Chim was like his boy dad anxiety. She's already been a boy mom. So
yeah. She's got it on lock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's done this before.
All right.
Athena.
Is it time for Athena?
Again, I keep apologizing, but this one is,
Arguably Athena had like kind of the most happen.
She did.
So
didn't like most of it, but
yeah,
it happened.
It was the most.
Okay. So Athena, my girl, never catches a break. She and Bobby are living in an apartment after their home burned down in the season 7 finale, and then she's faced with her dead fiance's killer. Oh my God. I forgot his full name, so I called him Jenkins.
It's like, Dennis Jenkins.
Dennis Jenkins.
Yeah.
Okay, with her dead fiance's killer, Dennis Jenkins, once again, because he requested her to escort him for something. I forgot. Anyway, and then she's being chased by the feds, which seems to be like a reoccurring theme this season. And in similar sentiments as Ryan Guzman, Athena should just stay home because once again, she's in the middle of a transportation death trap. Like, girl, please stop traveling, even if it's for work and not pleasure. Because in true 911 fashion and cause and effect, millions of bees have somehow turned into a beenado, which a small plane flew straight into, and as the pilot loses visibility, he crashes into a jetliner, the same jetliner that Athena was in while escorting Dennis Jenkins back to LA.
Of course.
So anyway, the TLDR for the plane arc. Athena flies a plane with the help of a 10-year-old boy who enjoyed playing with airplane simulators.
Who's almost assuredly autistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, ATC was there too, but let's be real. And she manages to land it pretty spectacularly with Bobby's help. He got her a runway.
Yeah.
Anyway, going forward into the season, Athena seems
Rachel's gonna cry.
Let it read! Oh, no.
This may have been one of the points when I was rewatching that I burst out into.
Fair.
Continue.
I get it.
Fine.
No, I get it. I think I would have cried too. Okay, going forward into the season, Athena seems to be picking up some strays. She unwillingly gets paired up with the rookie. That didn't end well. And then she finds herself with Graham, the card cop guy. He'll be back. We then see her working with Maddie and Detective Brayburn to uncover the weepy voice killer who's been abducting children and killing them. Spoiler alert, Brayburn was the weepy voice killer and kidnapped Maddie. Let's just say this was not Athena's best detective work, but she got there in the end. I love Athena, guys.
Yeah. No, but like for real.
The shade.
That whole episode, we were like, Athena. Athena. Surely you'll get it now.
Anyway, the feds and the military make an appearance during the Contagion arc, and they sucked. So Athena takes matters into her own hands and tries to track down Moira, the mad scientist lady who created the deadly virus that Chimney's infected with. And she takes Buck with her for the ride. After fighting Moira and the bedazzled Stanley Cup cure, with Karen's help, she was able to fake out the military and deliver a cure to Chimney. Unfortunately, we find out that Bobby's also infected, and Athena stays with him until the very end. With Bobby's death comes many emotions, and even emotions that are misplaced. Athena is angry. She's angry at Bobby for leaving her, and she's not exactly happy with Chimney either. And so she throws herself into work as a distraction. She tries to solve a case about a stolen baby, but it turns out that that baby was dead anyway. She lays Bobby to rest in Minnesota.
Tomato.
We hate it here. But anyway, moving on. Graham shows up again, told you he would come back, exasperating Athena in the process. He's no longer cart kid, but he is now the laundry police living in that building that's about to collapse. Anyway, again, because of the cause and effect of this earthquake and methane in the water, there's an explosion at the same building, and Athena finds herself with the 118 helping to save Graham. After working together, she and Chimney patch things up, and it feels like we're all starting to heal. But oh wait, here we go. Athena decides to sell the Bathena dream house after telling Harry and May that she wasn't even thinking about doing that. And Bobby Hahn is born. The end.
Bobby Hahn.
Bobby Hahn.
That's why we gotta call him Nash, okay?
Yeah.
We gotta call him Nash, dear God.
Yeah.
So, Athena, my girl, they did you so dirty this season. They really started out the season and were like, hey, remember this guy that killed the first love of your life? What if by the end of it, he lost the second? Yeah.
Not to mention she started off with no home and she's ending it with no home again.
No home. She's still homeless. Reliving the loss of the fiance and homeless selling her home because she doesn't even have a home that her and Bobby were still in with memories of him. And now she's grieving the second love of her life.
I'm fine. I'm not starting to cry at all. This is one of... Was this the crash out you guys were talking about and worrying about me having? Because, like, fair.
No.
You're still doing way better than I was imagining, to be honest.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to be doing a lot of dissociating.
Oh. No, just crying.
Okay. That's fine. That's normal.
Yeah, this is... That's normal. Thanks. You're normal.
For you. What? I didn't mean like this is normal for Rachel because she always cries. It just meant like that's normal to cry about.
Yeah, but so this is one of those things where I feel like if someone who was not like into 911 or had not seen 911 and saw like the first like 1 or 2 episodes of the season and then the last like maybe 3 episodes of the season specifically looking at Athena's arc, it would be like, well, she almost pretty much started and ended in the same place.
Yeah.
A little bit, which like
just without a husband.
Yeah, like, but like mourning a loss, homeless, mourning a loss, homeless. And it's just like, I know the destination is like, it's about the journey, not the destination, but also just like when you look at it, narratively speaking, like that sucks.
Oh, it
for
sucks.
Athena. Like
it sucks, but there is forward movement. So like I like book ended when it's like a circle, but like there's movement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If we've literally just got lost and wound up at the same exact place, but no movement, then I'm like, why am I watching the Supernatural finale?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like it's an Ouroboros. It's
yeah.
I guess you could say like the hero's journey and stuff like that, because they have to return home and but all of the stuff, it just like I know there's movement within the journey and it's about the journey, not the destination. And I do like very cyclical storylines and stuff like that. But like it also just makes me mad.
I get it. She's mad and rightfully so. Yeah.
But
I don't know.
But also sad.
I kind of have to look at it.
Yeah.
I kind of have to look at it from the perspective of like, even if she had known, if she had gotten to look into the future and seen all the joy that she was going to have, but known that it was going to end this way, I think she still would have done it.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's a bit of a, from both sides, it's a Francesca situation by Hosier. Like they just are Francesca
would have been
by
such
Hosier.
a better song, honestly. Like,
yeah. We need to talk about how to interpret work song. Kristen Rydell.
Correctly.
Slide into our DMs.
He's not going to.
If you ever need advice future on lyrical analysis, just hit me up, okay? Because I don't think that was a good use of that song. I don't. Anyway.
Hosier was a great choice.
Amazing choice.
Yes.
So many good songs you could have used for that, but not the one that's like, no grave could hold my body down. Exactly. Anyway. So the highlight of her arc for me is in the finale, where we see her, everyone's in the room waiting for her, and she enters as like the matriarch of the family, and everyone's back together. And now she, I think, is the center of the family now that Bobby is gone. So she shows up taking her place as the center, as the matriarch of the family, and welcomes Robert Nash Hun into it. Calls him Bobby. So that was the highlight for me. Yeah. I know people don't like the baby's name. I like it. I just don't want them to call him Robert or Bobby. They need to call him Nash, and then I'll be fine with it. If we're calling him Bobby, I think that's weird. Like Athena, calling him Bobby makes sense.
I feel like they're going to call him Robbie for some reason.
But then that's
Ravi and Robbie. That's confusing.
I just read it's a whip, so it was the first chapter, and I'll find it to link because I thought it was really cute. But they started calling him B, because like B for Bobby, but also B for Buck, like BEE.
That's cute.
And I thought that was so cute. So then it's also like G and B, and I love that.
Cute.
And I'm headcanoning that, and I will find that link, and it's a whip, but it was really good first chapter. I want to headcanon that.
And then two things that are gonna come up, I'm sure, next season. I don't know what else to do except just house. Is she going to have one?
Yeah.
And job? Is she gonna be doing the same shit? Is she gonna be training someone? Is she retiring?
Who knows? I mean, we've seen her do a lot of like she did do a lot of like detective stuff. I still think she should become a detective. I mean, I know that there's logistics to that about not her being in the calls, but I think it would help. I think it could change some of the like the dynamic and the structure in a way, like maybe the 118 still has to answer some of those calls where she will eventually like take on as a detective. So I think that's how they could make it work. But yeah, who the fuck knows at this point? I don't know.
I mean, if they want to, and by they, I mean, if Angela is wanting to not be a full-time regular on the show now that Peter and Bobby are gone, then that is a possible route they could take. I think they're gonna have her retire or get promoted in some way, and or move. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. I would not be surprised if they kind of follow up on what was the seed that was planted in 807 with Hot Shots, with her, training the rookie who did not turn out to be a good egg. But then also with 808 and bringing Graham as the cart cop back in 17 and 18, and to see how she kind of like mentors this younger generation sort of stuff. So like, I think that really is kind of putting that in the forefront of our minds.
Yeah, they did make her deal with like those kids in masks too.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, yeah.
So I think that's probably the path forward for her. I don't know what else it will be personally, except more of like her adapting to life without Bobby.
I do hope that we'll get to see her and Buck, like moments with her and Buck kind of like getting closer and bonding, because like they had the strongest connection to Bobby, and they were also the last people that Bobby spoke to and like actually said goodbye to. So I don't know. We'll see something there, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And more Harry and May, please.
Yes. Let's talk about the Bobby in the room, I guess.
God,
I hope I got everything. I mean, what is everything?
Also a lot.
We stopped seeing him after. Well, we stopped seeing him alive after 8:15. But anyway,
too soon.
What are you talking? She's stating facts.
I know, but it hurts my heart.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, we see Bobby at the beginning of the season on the meta of it all Hot Shot set. He's working as a tech advisor because at the end of season 7, he had resigned from the 118 prematurely and couldn't return back to the 118 as Vincent Gerard was placed there upon his resignation, thanks to the fucking councilwoman. Anyway, on the Hot Shot set, he's not happy. He's not happy. Happy. Anyway, he's not happy. He wanted to return back to his own house and had to work with the most...
Say it all in a British accent.
Upon his resignation, here's my really poorly done British accent. On the Hot Shot set, he's not happy. This is so bad.
I love it.
He wanted to return back to his house, and he had to work with the most annoying Brit ever, Brad Torrance. I'm just kidding. I really love my British people, and honestly, spoiler alert, I fear for Brad right now. Brad is all of us. We really love Bobby.
How is Brad taking the news? Does he know?
He's in a padded white room. Trust.
And if not, he's walking on the ledge.
He's storming government facilities, trying like coming up with conspiracy theories that he's alive. I am? Give me my Bob.
Wait, I need to see a fan fiction of that
I might need him back for one episode.
Yeah.
He finds out or something. Oh God. That's terrifying. I feel bad for this guy for some reason. Anyway, that's the last. I'm not doing any more British accents. Anyway, after Bobby helps Athena during her not so very fun work day by providing her a runway to land the plane, like the one and only true husband he is, and one 118 therapy session later, we find him manipulating Gerard into firing himself and foiling the councilwoman's plans so that they can switch places and have Gerard work on the Hot Shot set while Bobby returns as captain of the 118. Yay!
Rachel's about to block me on social media.
Wait, why?
Because you said like the one and only husband he is, and I said was.
Oh, and it made me upset.
Wow.
Well,
anyway, and as he thought that was the last he would see of Brad Torrance, Brad decides to show up at the 118 as Bobby's understudy. Honestly, we just spent a lot of time on Brad, and there's a lot of meta commentary here, especially for the show externally, which I'm sure we will get to later in the episode. But as far as the character arc, there isn't really much in this storyline except for how this prepares us, the audience, for what's to come. In 8B, or specifically episode 11 of season 8, we really should have considered this episode as an omen. Because why, after so long, do we finally meet up with Bobby's mom and brother? I know we had that flashback episode, but no. I mean, like, in real time, present time. Like, why?
Yeah.
That should have been the sign. But anyway, that's not the point. Bobby reunites with his mom and brother that he hasn't seen in several years. It's revealed that his mom was a part of a traveling mega church and his brother was traveling along with her. We also find out in the episode commentary, that, you know, they were invited to Marcy and Bobby's wedding. And we also find out that his mom tried to make some form of contact after Marcy and the kids die. So this is Bobby and his mom's reconciliation story because this is how we tie up loose ends. Anyway, and finally, we've reached the end, which is the Contagion arc. Bobby and the 118 are trapped in the lab that contains a deathly virus. There's an explosion. Hen has a collapsed lung. Ravi passes out at some point, and Chimney gets infected. Bobby saves each member of the 118 that is trapped in the lab with him one by one by providing them with what they needed to survive. Truly heroic, unfortunately. And because of realism, I guess, we find out that there was a tear in his oxygen tank. So I guess somehow he gets infected with the virus. And because there's only one cure, he chooses to save Chimney because, of course. And he continues to hide the fact that he was infected as well and dies to work song. And then there's something about no one can keep my Bobby down. Except Peter Krause and Tim Minear, I guess. I mean, there's potentially a lot more that I could extrapolate, but honestly, I'm so tired. I don't want to think about this ever again. Rest in peace, Robert Wade Nash.
Oh my God.
Let us rest in peace.
There is no peace when we are done, okay? We know this. It's a lie.
The day when they use Carry On My Wayward Son for some weird reason.
Stop. Take it back.
I'm out. I have not been able to listen to that song in 5 years, okay? Like,
Bobby started this season alive. And he ended the season dead. That's the journey.
I think you could technically say that is the biggest change of any of the characters.
Poor Syl.
You timed that sip really bad. An actual spit take. Oh my God.
No, it's still in her mouth.
Yeah, so Bobby has had the most transformative character arc, I think, of all of 911. Like, on a very literal level.
Yeah, so the highlight of his arc is, and I'm saying this not because, like, I truly think that, to me personally, this was the highlight of his season for me, but I think just narratively speaking for him was saving his family.
Yeah.
Getting to save all of them this time. And the fact that he wanted to live. He wanted to stay. He didn't want to go. I don't want to go. Okay,
why
anyway.
would you say that? One of the other most traumatic character deaths.
Which one?
I'm thinking of two.
It's Doctor Who and Spider-Man.
Yeah, Tennant's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man. Yeah, and I'm just like, trauma.
It's okay. They're both still alive now. Unlike Bobby. So anyway, two important things to remember for later, I guess. He's dead.
I don't think we can forget that.
So just, some people are trying. Listen, if you want to Bobby is alive, Max.
Bad news.
He's dead. Okay. This is just my personal PSA.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
If your Bobby is alive, Maxine, at this point, I'm so worried about you. Because he's dead. Listen, if at this point, if they do bring him back, I'll just be like, okay, great. That makes literally no sense in any way, shape, or form at this point. Sure. But he's dead. They named the baby after him. We found out, we'll talk about it later, that most likely Peter actually did want to leave the show. So
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly, you know, and there are things that make sense. There was also some stuff in our rewatch that we missed the first time that were signs
that we're seeing now as signs, because like hindsight bias is,
you know, and like I said, commentary, external meta commentary.
Yeah.
Please watch it in a very external lens.
So yeah, just remember that he's dead. And you know, if you want to think he's alive, you do you, boo. But I just fear that you're in for a world of pain.
I will say for that, because I was the last,
you were the holdout,
Bobby alive Maxer standing between us. Like, I think there's always a potential for retconning, you know, like that is a thing that happens. I think there is always a possibility there. But as far as kind of like, now that we've seen all of season 8, I'm going to go into it with like he's dead. But there's always a possibility, but I'm not like relying on that possibility. But but like in the back of my head, I'm like, if they chose to retcon this, I would be totally fine hand waving any logic needed to make it make sense. I don't care, but I'm not going to lean on that. Does that make sense?
No, I get where you're coming from, because I think I've also said, you know, if
like never say never.
No, well, yeah, but I'm saying like I always thought like if they were gonna end the season with him dead and Peter wanted a break, let's say an actual just like a break from the show, like there's potential to bring him back later, like way later down the line, because they made it so like you can't really see that he's actually dead. You know, we didn't see him be put in a body bag. We didn't see that zip up, but that's the way I kind of would expect for them if they really somehow, some way bring him back. That's how I expect it to go, like somewhere way later down the line. Retcon, some amnesia. I don't fucking know.
Do I think they're going to do it? I think it's a very slim possibility, but like
0.1%.
But like never zero.
I don't know what Angela's doing.
Bro,
I think she just doesn't like it.
Yeah.
She said several times that she doesn't know what the show would look like without them together, or what her character would be doing without him. So yeah, she's probably like, bring my Bobby back. Like, fair.
Yeah. I think we'll be including that in our conversation, because I think we're gonna do like some special episode about like the PR of it all and how that was handled.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of stuff to say about that. So I think like we can include Angela's comments with that as well. But look out for that sometime.
So yeah. So the first thing is he's dead. And the second thing is, you know how Shannon's been haunting the narrative since the end of season 2? Move over.
We've got a new ghost in town.
Yeah, and he's gonna be haunting everyone.
Forever. Which is kind of like what we spoke about in our Bobby Nash grief special. Like it's going to be hanging over everyone's heads. Maybe not quite as like at the forefront always, but it's always gonna be there. And it's not just gonna haunt one person, it's gonna haunt everybody. So at least they're in it together.
You get a haunting and you get a haunting. You get a haunt. Yeah, everyone.
How many times do you think each character is going to like imagine Bobby there?
I don't know.
And have Peter come in for like a
depends if Peter wants to be there.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm just preparing myself to just not see him. Yeah. And then if I see him, pleasant surprise. You know?
Yeah. Special guest star, Peter Preza.
Yeah. And then I'll start crying again.
Oh, you're going to start crying when the 901 credits roll and Peter's name is not there, except as executive producer.
Yeah. Well, no. It has to be something more emotional.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway,
let's talk about my boy Buck.
This is long. This is longer.
He's a fucking mess.
Is it as long as his legs are long?
Oh, 2 pages, so there's a page for each leg.
It's 2 pages?
Let me just get through it. Let me get through it.
There's a lot.
So where the fuck do I start with this bi disaster and his trials and tribulations? All right, we begin the season with Buck spiraling because Gerard is captain and Bobby is not. He tries to work through it, but he goes to the extreme of suggesting that everyone on the 118 should quit to convince the powers that be to bring Bobby back. Unfortunately,
sorry. That's going in the meta analysis.
Yeah. No, it really is.
Wink, wink.
There's so much.
You're welcome. Unfortunately, the rest of the 118, except Eddie, because whatever, had good reasons as to why they can't do that, and he lets it go for now. Buck is honestly so full of good ideas during the opening beenado emergency, from using the smoke to calm the bees down to spraying Eddie with perfume for the bees to chase him down. Ha ha. And sorry, lol. I don't know. Insert laughter here. And even with all of that, Gerard takes credit for his ideas. And if that's not bad enough, he's still dating Tommy. Yeah. So we still know nothing about that relationship. And honestly, I think we were all waiting for it to die, which the death of that relationship started in masks. I don't know. There's something about Buck having a no good, very bad day along with bad luck Boyles and his boyfriend being the most unsupportive boyfriend ever. Also, Eddie is there.
Eddie is also there.
Anyway, the Abby bomb was dropped, which I called.
You did.
Buck spirals some more, and after one interrogation and an odd glee speech from Josh, he asks Tommy to move in with him. Tommy unceremoniously dumps Buck with the whole I'm your first and not your last thing, and Buck's spiraling turns into a whole lot of baking as a distraction from the breakup. And then another bomb is dropped on Buck's foundation. Buck finds out that Eddie is moving to El Paso. Oh no, why? Does his tummy hurt? Also, Tommy who? Honestly, this is the season of Buck going down an endless spiral, huh?
Yeah.
He's trying so hard to be supportive of Eddie as Eddie is trying to find a potential subletter. He helps Eddie in showing the house, but he kind of sabotages it. Not on purpose, though. He just really loves that house and knows so much about it, even if he doesn't know it yet. Shh. Anyway, after the third showing, Eddie tells him that he's got it from there, and so Buck makes his way out, but not before hearing Eddie say that the job opportunity was LA and that he had no ties here. We all know that Eddie didn't really mean it like that, but Buck doesn't. Anyway, more spiraling. Buck adopts a dog, and the girls begin fighting. Anyway, Buck feels bad for outing Eddie to Cap and the others, so he comes up with the grandest of gestures so that Eddie can be with Christopher and not have to worry anymore. He broke his lease on the loft and sublets Eddie's place. They hug it out and make up. Yay. Somewhere in between there, Maddie goes missing. Buck continues to spiral. And finally, Buck and Eddie say goodbye. Truly the awkwardest goodbye I've ever seen. I wonder why that is. JK, I know why. We all know why. We're all aware. But even though they are 800 miles apart, Buck and Eddie continue to keep in contact through FaceTime calls, and he gives Eddie any advice he can when it comes to helping Eddie get Christopher back. I love co-parents. Yay. Anyway, we've entered the boy who cried Eddie. Buck moves into Eddie's place, but we see him having trouble adjusting. The TLDR, that really isn't a TLDR. I was trying to make it a TLDR. But because this episode is so insane, the TLDR is not a TLDR. He misses Eddie. He says Eddie's name more than like 15 times in this episode, maybe like even 20. After Maddie suggests that he makes new friends, he tries to hang out with Ravi. Poor Ravi.
So real.
Who had to sit there and listen to Buck talk about Eddie all night. Eddie and his silver star. Poor Ravi really should get compensated. Anyway, he couldn't take it anymore, so he runs into Tommy. The crowd booed. Or maybe they're going to say hooray. Anyway, Buck is left with Tommy, and they're talking, and there's something about Eddie leaving and Tommy not knowing about it and revealing that Eddie hasn't spoken to him since he and Buck broke up, and they hook up at Eddie's house in Eddie's old room. Backslide. Anyway, the morning after.
Oh my God.
Tommy really thought he was going to get back together with Buck, but he also puts his foot in his mouth by insinuating that Eddie was his competition. And Buck says some of the most out-of-pocket shit I and Tommy have ever heard, from saying that Eddie is straight, quote-unquote straight, cute, and honestly, cue the scoff heard around the world, to, I don't have to sleep with everyone I have feelings for, and I don't have to have feelings for everyone I sleep with. Like, okay, Buck, we got it. I think we all got it. Everyone heard that, but he didn't.
Except
anyway, he goes back to Maddie for her counsel, which honestly, this woman is tired. Someone put her out of her misery. But unfortunately today, or that day specifically, was not the day that Buck was going to admit that he was in love with his straight best friend.
She did take a picture and send it to Eddie, though.
Anyway, now a pause on this love stuff. Contagion arc. So yeah, let's continue having Buck go through the horrors as he is helpless to save his 118 family. And then Bobby dies. His last words to Buck being, "I love you, kid, and you're going to be okay, and they're going to need you." Buck takes Bobby's last words in the most Buck way possible by trying to be there for everyone, but by not being himself and reacting the way that he normally would, as if he can't really break down in front of them either. And because of this, and finding out that Eddie was offered the firefighting position at the El Paso Fire Department, he and Eddie fight again. And it's full of grief and sadness, but they make up kind of without really talking about this thing between them that's so messy and hard. Eddie brings back Christopher's and kind of like an olive branch and to cheer up Buck, along with his Tia Pepa, who offers Buck sagely advice about change being inevitable. However, I don't think she really meant putting in transfer papers, but that's not even really an issue by the end of this season, honestly, because we now find Buck trapped during the building collapse call. And, well, he's elated to see Eddie back and basically rescuing him, heart eyes all around. And then I feel like there's some kind of missing scene that we will be touching on maybe in season 9, but we end with the season with Buck looking for a new place because he didn't think Eddie's house was his. Like, bro, what? Anyway.
Bro, what?
Bro, I need you to, I don't even know, man.
Eddie's place? I'm not really a guest here. It was never really mine. Which one? Which one
are we doing?
Can't be both. What are we doing?
God. Okay. Well.
Were those 2 pages too long for you?
No, I loved it. I love when we're about Buck. Shocking brand new news for everyone here. So Buck started the season Bobby-less with an ugly boyfriend.
Uh-huh.
And then he ended the season Bobby-less for good and single.
Ooh.
So it's
Buck really like lost everything
of an improvement,
gained everything, lost everything again.
Looking at the bright side, I mean, there's no boyfriend, no ugly boyfriend.
Like, if you think about it, other than Athena, well, I guess in Bobby, but he's dead, so he doesn't really have to go through the consequences of any of the things that happened to him this season, including dying. Buck had like the worst of it this season, like emotionally. Because, like, yes, Chimney had a bad time, but do you know what Chimney has? A beautiful wife and a beautiful daughter and a brand new child. What does Buck have? Literally nothing. He's Bobby-less. He's bitchless. He's homeless.
Oh my God.
Is this roast Buck hour or something? I know I started it, but
it's like roasting with love, but like these aren't incorrect things. It's just like his abandonment issues were on like full red alert like this entire season. Basically, he did not really like get a break of like if he if he gained one thing, he lost another thing, right? Like he got Bobby back, he lost Eddie. He lost Tommy. He, I don't know what the trajectory there was, but like it was like one step forward, two steps back for him. And it was all about like his issues of abandonment were just like getting drudged up again and again and again. It's almost like he was in fight or flight the whole time.
He was lost this entire season, and he's more lost at the end than he was at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So he's about to have a rough next season.
Yeah. And this was not light work for him either.
But he's going to have to start actually addressing all this stuff. Like it's going to come up. But anyway, so the highlights of his art this season,
just like the way that he was supporting Eddie by like taking over his lease and being there for him over FaceTime. We just got to see them like, just how much Buck cares. Yes, that is exactly what Buck is. But like
it's what he's always done for Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I liked it.
I put down, because I think this was the most growth we saw from him, which was befriending and mentoring Ravi. The first attempt, not great. Not good. But we did see like how great they work together like in the field. And then we do get to see them like go out again in episode 14 at the beginning, after the first call. And you get to see that like he didn't actually fuck it up so bad that Ravi will never hang out with him again. So they are friends, or friendly. And now he's mentoring him and he's imparting like his own experience and encouraging him, telling him that he's a good firefighter. So now he's finally being a mentor instead of just like terrorizing him and hazing him. So I think that's a lot of growth for him.
Yeah, it's showing like a little more maturity in that kind of arena. Like instead of being like the hazing big brother, it's kind of morphing into the big brother that you go to for like life advice, right?
Yep. And I think we saw like seeing Ravi at his place, like showing up with Buck's uniform and Ravi there at the end. I really do think that a big part of that is how much Buck is like welcoming him in to that centerfold too. So that's why I thought it was like the biggest thing, because
fair.
Did his sister tell him to make new friends? Yes. Was Ravi the easiest person because he was his partner at work? Also yes. But he is continuing to put effort into it. So good for him. Maybe not so good for Ravi, but
jury's still out on that
to
one.
Be seen. And then just a couple things to like keep in mind. Literally the entirety of 809 and 10 and 11.
Yeah. All of it.
All of that shit is going to come back up.
Major.
And then I think we are going to pick up right after or shortly after we see him looking for a place in 818. So keep that in mind. Keep his wording specifically in mind.
How he wanted to find something that was a little more lived in, something with character and someplace that feels a little more his.
Whose house?
I wonder where it could be.
Yeah. Do you know whose house he also thinks has character? Eddie's. Why don't you go back there?
Interesting. He's so stupid.
It really is going to be like a whole Goldilocks thing, isn't it? No, this house isn't right.
I don't know.
And
I talk about it
later. Whether that's coming from him or from Eddie or both, probably, in all likelihood.
I also do think, keep in mind some of Bobby's last words to Buck, because I think those are not done haunting Buck and how he's behaving. I think we are supposed to think that he didn't put in for, like, he rescinded the transfer. So I guess maybe not as bad, but I still think that we haven't seen him really break down and grieve or like be Buck about it at all.
Yeah.
He's still keeping those words close to his chest. So I really do think that that's going to come back.
The crash out
around
is imminent.
It'll happen.
Because like after a whole season of him spiraling and spiraling and spiraling, like I don't think we're quite done.
I think that brings us to It Girl.
Oh, yeah, my It Girl. Hold on. Credit to Rachel, because I was Buck really was spiraling way too much, okay?
I hope this is up to your like level.
And if it's not, I'll read it like it is.
Please.
I mean, so far I've read it. It feels like it is. So anyway.
Oh my God.
Sorry. I don't
so much shade.
It didn't mean it to be shady.
No, that was actually hilarious though. Like fair.
Anyway.
Anyways, I tried to do this in your voice in my head. So
okay. The mustachioed man without a plan. Eddie is big sad about Chris living in Texas still after months away. And whose fault is that? Hint, it's not just Eddie's. Instead of figuring out his shit about why Chris sent himself away, Eddie is moping and depriving himself of joy because he doesn't feel like he deserves it. Until he meets Mr. Hot Priest himself. Eddie's Catholic guilt and regular guilt is eating him up inside, so he resorts to going to confess in church about all his sins and gives the worst no context SparkNotes summary he possibly could. After assuming Hot Priest was hitting on him at their juice bar meet cute, Eddie insists he's straight. But then he follows that up with the most queer-coded recreation of the risky business pants off dance off. From that point on, Eddie finds little moments to embrace joy, namely in the indulging of Buck's sweet treats whenever he can. No, really, that this man has been eating the entire time, and most of it really has been stuff that Buck's been making him. Anyway, just when he thinks things are
took Anne out.
No, it's because I came up with a dirty comment in my head and kept it to myself.
Oh man.
Is it something about Buck's sweet treats? It's like so you could say that Buck is filling them up.
All right.
Can we keep that?
I think we have to. Anyway.
Help. We're getting punchy. Okay.
Just when he thinks things are on the up and up again, Eddie still misses Chris desperately and hates that he's missing out on the big moments again. He gets some questionable advice from Hotshot star Brad Torrance and makes the totally level-headed decision to uproot himself and move back to Texas to be with Christopher. We don't see Eddie tell Chris about any of it. Is it a surprise? We'll find out off screen, just like so much else, apparently. Eddie tries to sublet his house, but gets sabotaged by Buck at every turn. And there we have Buddie Divorce 2.0. This time there's a dog instead of a lawsuit. In a surprising turn of events to Eddie and absolutely no one else, Buck decides to make the totally level-headed decision to take over Eddie's rent. Yes, just for him. Eddie and Buck almost talk things out about how Buck's feeling abandoned, but it's nothing to Eddie. It's actually hurting him to leave this hard, messy thing between them two. Then after the world's most classically romantic tropey goodbye and hug in the rain, and really awkward, honestly, Eddie's off to El Paso in the U-Haul, fit for a queen. Back in Texas, our cowboy reunites with Christopher, who is excited to see him, and his parents, who are less so, and still obnoxiously condescending AF. Eddie does what he always does and lies to them about getting a job in the El Paso FD, and instead becomes the world's and instead becomes the world's lowest rated Uber driver until Chris finds him out. Shockingly, they have a convo on screen, and all seems headed in the right direction. Eddie is trying to make the long distance with his best platonic male guy pal friend, as Buck supports him and tells Eddie to dad up, inspiring Eddie to stand up to his parents and win Christopher back in the best father-son road trip duo that we never got to see. Then, whoops, Bobby's dead, and Eddie missed it. It's back to guilt and LA for Eddie as he attends the funeral and tries to grieve with Buck, who just won't let him in, leading us to Buddie Divorce 3.0 in the kitchen. To apologize, Eddie pulls his typical grand gesture of, sorry, but here's our kid to make you feel better. And you know what? Props to him because it works. Literally, as Eddie is about to leave for El Paso again, he hears the Avengers assemble fanfare and jumps into action to help the 118 at a building collapse, giving us our incredible superhero Eddie moment. So competent, much impressed. He tells Buck he's right in front of him. In more ways than one, am I right? And saves the day while making goo-goo eyes at his bestest friend like he's the entire world, bro. Hold on, I gotta reread that, actually. I gotta reread that. Hold on.
I forgot what I wrote.
The bro took me out. I didn't realize there was a bro snuck in. From the top, literally as Eddie is about to leave for El Paso again, he hears the Avengers assemble fanfare and jumps into action to help the 118 at a building collapse, giving us our incredible superhero Eddie moment. So competent, much impressed. He tells Buck he's right in front of him, in more ways than one, am I right? And saves the day while making goo-goo eyes at his bestest friend like he's his entire world, bro. Back at the 118, Chimney seals Eddie's phone and tells him in no uncertain terms that no one's going back to El Paso. So that's it, I guess. And Eddie and Chris move back to LA, and we're assuming they talked about it, but who knows? Because it happened where? Off screen.
Thank you.
I can't wait for the Eddie Diaz off screen, my favorite 911 spinoff.
911.
No, that was actually fantastic. That is exactly how I pictured it in my head. Thank you for making it come to life.
You're welcome.
Oh my God. That bro took me the fuck. I couldn't breathe at one point. I was laughing so hard. You're my entire world, bro.
I liked
Your lips are way too plump, bro.
I really liked the long distance relationship with his boyfriend. Sorry. I mean, totally platonic male guy friend pal.
Eddie, you started the season Chrisless, and then you ended with Chris in LA.
Yay!
Yay! How did you decide to do that? We don't know. But you're back, so
it was off screen.
Who cares?
Yay.
You're back. Whatever.
I mean, arguably, I think if you look at it from this way, like Eddie has had the most like upwards story arc. Like he didn't have something, now he has something, and it's like I think he's like,
this is why he's the it girl.
Yeah. Besides Hen, who like didn't have Mara, now they do have Mara. Like, which is interesting because it's both like reacquisition of the kid, right?
Yeah, it only took her 4 episodes to get Mara back, and it took him 13 to get Chris back.
Yeah.
And he had custody of his kid, but whatever. Semantic.
Yeah. I mean, wait, on this, are we paralleling evil councilwoman Ortiz with Helena?
Oh, yeah,
I would.
absolutely. They can both have a tree fall on them for all I fucking care.
We're back to the tree again.
We're always going to go back to the tree, okay?
The tree is
Until I
haunting
see a
us.
fucking tree fall on someone on 911, yeah. I'll be bringing it up.
911 like season 9 opening is just like at a lumberjack farm factory place.
Oh my God. Not the Final Destination trauma.
Oh.
Anyway, the highlight of Eddie's arc for me this season was him standing up to Helena when he takes Chris back.
Yeah.
How he is so gentle yet snarky and passive aggressive. Peak Eddie Diaz, you know, being father of the year, being so fed up with his parents undermining him and still throwing barbs at him, but like still treating them with like the respect and gentleness they do not fucking deserve, because that's just who he is. Yeah.
I think that was something that we had been waiting, not just all season for, but like years, like we've been watching this for years, but like seasons
since how they were acting at Shannon's like wake
in season 2. Yeah. It's been that long. So I think not only was it something that we'd been waiting so long for, but the way that it was handled was so satisfactory. because it was so true to who Eddie is. And it just like made it really, really effective. And just like we were like jumping up and down like we were cheering on the Super Bowl. Like
That's really funny. I do feel like those first couple of episodes of 8B, I was at the Super Bowl. Like,
yes,
we were. Was our personal Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then just a couple things to keep in mind going forward for Eddie. Something about choosing joy and just meaningful looks. Look out for those.
longing glances. Hold prolonged eye contact. Eye contact. We're gonna see more of that.
As it's written on Supernatural scripts between Dean and Cass.
That is actually how they were
That's
written.
literally what they wrote on the scripts.
Yeah, and you're telling me that they wrote. That's a whole other conversation.
So I think we may also see some more exacerbated guilt over missing out on big things in his loved ones' lives. I could think of that manifesting in different ways. Might be anger. If he finds out about, I'm never going to let this go. They're never going to bring it up again. But like, if he could find out about cooking up with Tommy in his house, in his old bedroom.
They could bring it up.
I'd be like, oh, another big thing that I missed out on that my best friend didn't tell me about. You know, that's just an idea. But he missed a lot. He missed a lot of stuff while he was there. And it could still be exacerbated, like, say, big things are happening in Buck's life and Buck isn't telling him about it.
Yeah.
Like, if, say, he's looking for a place and he doesn't know.
Which I think is a very likely possibility.
It's possible.
And I think we will see that in a similar vein to how you're saying, because I think at the very end here we have Eddie and Christopher. They kind of it looks, or it appears that they're kind of like finding this delicate balance between, like, you know, parent, like father and son. Like, I'm the father, I'm gonna like lay down the rules, but I'm also gonna give you like some leash, right? So I think with that relationship having mostly, you know, healed in that way, or it's looking on the up, then that guilt that will be settling in will be on the other personal aspects, which we'll have to do with the 118 and Buck specifically. Because I think Eddie and Chris will be okay.
Yeah, I think they're good. I don't think we're ever going to see a conversation about what happened.
Because it happened. It just happened off screen.
Sure.
Release the deleted scenes, please.
Or it didn't happen and maybe it's just there's just some like conversations that you don't need to have. In my personal opinion.
There had to have been some kind of conversation in which there is an apology and forgiveness exchanged.
Agree to disagree. I agree with both. I just think, again, I think I was just raised in a certain way where I'm just like,
I think for who Eddie is and who the relationship of Eddie and Chris are, that would have happened.
Yeah.
Then it was off screen.
Yes.
I'm fairly certain that they did film a lot of those, but they were cut for time. So again, I'm asking in the most polite and not demanding way possible, can we please see some of the deleted scenes? Because that would just be really interesting. Thank you.
It's also interesting. I would love to see like what the original plan was for Eddie, considering I think we found out today that the actress for Abuela could have been in some of these episodes. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Based on an Instagram post. So we could have had Abuela, but we didn't.
Yeah.
Hopefully next season.
Because she was...
Yeah, she was unavailable because of surgery.
Health reasons.
Know that they filmed a lot more reaction for Eddie finding out about Bobby than we got.
Yeah, that too.
Which I'm glad that they decided to do in the first place. That was that was a good move.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Give me.
Anyway, hopefully more Peppa and Abuela season 9. Need that immediately. And no more off screen.
Oh, I guess maybe something specifically for the people in charge. Hi, Tim. Just to remember for next season, Eddie's a main character. And he should be on our screens.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks. Okay, moving on.
Love us.
I guess kind of a sort of buddy section, but like we're going to be doing a buddy season 8 minisode, or probably a full episode at some point.
Yeah, it's going to be a full episode, let's be real.
So we're just going to touch on a couple things for now in the wrap.
Mm-hmm. Just like some things that popped up throughout the season. As I was rewatching, I was noticing like there were a lot of interesting points or parallels that I saw between Bobby and Athena and Buck and Eddie in relation to like moving and housing, all that kind of stuff. Because we know like Bobby and Athena were, you know, in the search for a house. So like in 804, when Athena gets the original plans for their house that Michael drafted up, and Bobby says that he loved the house because Athena was there, but it wasn't mine. It was yours and Michael's. Seems very similar to Buck at the end of 18 saying it didn't feel like mine. I was a subletter. So that kind of struck me as like, oh, there's some parallels here. And I know we've paralleled Bathena and Buddie a lot, but specifically in terms of like housing stuff. And so it kind of puts Athena and Buck in like a similar journey from the beginning of 8A to the end of 8B and possibly like going forward into 9, where they're both looking for a new place to live sort of thing. And, you know, Buck wants something with history and character, and Bobby and Athena ending up building something new on the same land where Harry and May grew up. So it's a lot of that same kind of like, it has history, it has character, but it also is like a new beginning sort of thing. So I think they could continue to draw more parallels there, which would be fun.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of stuff about like we just spoke about how Buck is spiraling basically the entire season, right? But so often the role that Eddie plays in Buck spiraling is either the grounding force or like at the center of the spiral, either or. In 801, when, you know, Buck is having his little like Peter Tingle, Spider-Man, Spidey senses. I always call it the Peter Tingle now. Like
that's only for MCU.
I know. When Buck is having his like Spidey senses moment, when Gerard is like yelling at him and he hears Eddie's voice as almost like a grounding force. You also see Eddie being a grounding force for Buck in Masks with Billy Boyles when Eddie's like, you know, spiraling, it's not good for you. It's brought by stress. And that's a very like, he often takes this like logical position because Buck spiraling is so often emotional, right? And so he's like talking Buck down, and Buck acquiesces and is like, you know, if you say so. But then in 8B, it kind of turns into Eddie being at the center of Buck spiraling. So it's like that he's almost like gotten caught in this whirlpool or this black hole of Buck spiral, because you see it in 809 with Buck spiraling about Eddie leaving, and in 810 when they're looking for Maddie and Buck is spiraling about Eddie leaving, and Eddie is trying to be that grounding force. Like, it's not nothing. It hurts for me too. It's also pissing me off. You can be pissed off, but like it's happening. So he's taking like these very like logical things. And then again in 817 where Eddie confronts Buck in the kitchen and is like, you've been spiraling since the funeral, but I don't know how to talk to you about it. So this is like that moment where it's like he doesn't know how to be that grounding force for him anymore. But it's also because it's not about him or about Eddie this time. So he can't be the grounding force that he's used to being. So just a lot of interesting stuff there, I think. And especially with the kitchen scene, like that's all emotion based. Like there is no logic grounding in that because Eddie's not in a place to do that either. And then we talked about it all season long, but Buck and Eddie's communication, or rather lack thereof, we see them talking, right? But it's not really until Eddie is all the way in El Paso that we see them talk about anything with like that means something with like more substance. And granted, over in El Paso, it's more stuff about Christopher and Eddie's parents and how Eddie can, you know, dad up. But that is very important, and it's important to their relationship. but also just the fact that they don't actually talk about anything else that's going on at all, especially in 806, which is titled Confessions. And that is the episode where they don't speak to each other once. And that's...
And there's confessional imagery.
Yes.
Between them.
But they're not talking to each other. They're talking around each other. There's also this role reversal that we've mentioned before where, you know, usually Eddie keeps things like very close to the vest and doesn't want to talk, and how that's kind of shifted where Eddie is trying to get Buck to talk, but Buck is internalizing and kind of like shutting things down, shoving things down. So I think that will continue going forward. They have to have a conversation at some point about them.
Very interesting when you look at the distance between Buck and Eddie and like how little they had together in seasons 5 and 6, but how much they still talked when they did have scenes together.
Yeah.
There are very big buddy moments in those seasons, even though it's like, you know, the famous Buddy was shut down and like trying to distance them because like, what do you do with them when you can't go this way with them? So I think it's very telling that like they still had very them moments, like very them conversations where they talk to each other about each other. And it's normally a give and take. Like it's like one of them talks a little bit about themselves and the other person opens up.
Exactly.
It's normally not just all about one person. Like it's normally about, I'm giving you the space to open up by poking you or sharing part of how I'm feeling. And we just don't get that this season at all. The only thing we really get them talking about is Chris, but it's after Eddie's already gone.
Which is interesting too, because like once the physical distance opens up, then that's where we get some more of that emotional, like coming together a little bit more.
But it's talking about Eddie and it's not talking about Buck. It's talking about Chris.
Yeah. So much of their communication in this episode has been Buck supporting Eddie.
What's that quote? Buddy isn't about... No. How is it? The thing about like Buddy isn't like, about Buddy.
Everything is about Buddy.
Everything's about Buddy, but...
Except Buddy.
Who's
about Chris.
Who's about Chris. Yeah. Interesting.
It is interesting too because so much of it is Buck in that supporter role for Eddie for so much of the season. So Buck is basically the whole season been trying to not make it about him and has been making it about Eddie and Chris, as you know, they do. So I think it's time for us to see the reciprocal of that in the next season as well, where then Eddie can be there for Buck, or maybe they can both be there together because of trauma and Bobby, and just like opening up in that way and not having it just like one side or the other.
And I also need to see like that shift also, because like while Buck is making it about Eddie and Chris, or he's trying to anyway. I mean, Eddie now has Christopher back, so now it's time for Eddie to make it about Buck. I mean, he kind of has been, but like more internalizing it. Well, he kind of has. I'm talking about like, you know, the whole like some of those confrontations where, oh, you make it all about you. And no, it's most of it. Sometimes, or most of the time, he's projecting.
Yeah.
Projecting because he's making it all about Buck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buck wasn't making in 17. Buck wasn't making it all about himself until the literal last thing he said.
Yeah. No, that whole thing was about Buck not reaching out.
Yeah.
If you're going to make me choose between it, no one said that.
I know.
No one asked you. Yeah.
So much of that was just like Eddie's subconscious, like speaking, and yeah.
I'm really interested to see like how we go forward in the not talking, because we're going to see that continue, because when they finally, it's part of how they're building tension and separation while having them still be around each other all the time and talk to each other all the time, because it's like they're not talking about the big things they normally would. And people are going to start picking up on that as we add on like the goo eyes, and then like adding in, why is Ravi always here? And like, it's just part of the like concoction that they're like making up.
It's like they're finally like in the same place again, but there's still like this fissure that's separating. They've kind of patched it up with like some duct tape and band-aids maybe, but it's still like very tenuous and could very potentially like become a larger chasm until, you know, one of the spirals makes Buck hit rock bottom, or if like Eddie finds out about Buck, you know, going to find a new place. It could be so many different things. I don't really care what, but like they have to have it, like push comes to shove, they have to have like a conversation, which is why we were like hoping so hard for like a dual NDE sort of thing.
Trap them somewhere, put them in a cave
where they have to talk.
They have to talk. Yeah. The idea that I've started to see in some fanfics right now that like, you know, how Chimney tells Eddie that he's not going anywhere. Like it's so fucking easy. And then Buck is like,
oh yeah.
Bro.
I could have just asked.
That was an option.
but like Buck never would.
He never would. But it's like, but it's kind of like the question of like, why wasn't I enough?
Why wasn't he enough? Yeah, that is what I'm seeing, which I am like, oh, he's never going to say that, but he is internalizing that
so hard
that he isn't enough. That like we were so hoping that it would be Eddie choosing to come home, not just for Buck, but that he would choose. But like now it's like, well, Buck wasn't. But I do like that idea. I don't know how realistic that kind of confrontation is. He could come back poking with it if Eddie pokes him with something first. But normally Buck doesn't come out the gate with that kind of stuff. He kind of has to be pushed there by something else.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, I don't think it's very interesting that Eddie is home and we don't see Buck helping him move back in. We don't see Buck super happy that he's home.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It makes me excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It really does. Because like there's a lot of potential there and it could go so many different ways. And I kind of dig all of those different potentials. I'm like, that's a fun one. That's also fun over there. I can get into this. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little more in our wish list section in a bit here. But let's talk a little bit about some of our favorite episodes from the season. I don't think any of these are going to be shocking.
I think there's a lot of overlap.
Mine are in no particular order. 806 is probably the most serotonin I've ever felt watching an episode of television from start to finish.
Yeah.
Like, no notes, really. It's so good. 811.
Also.
811. Bobby parts are fine, but oh my God, bro. The fact that Eddie's not even in that episode and it's all about him. Like, even some of the Bobby parts are about him.
Yep.
So, very interesting, very fun stuff. And then 813. Because I love Eddie and I love seeing Eddie's storylines on my screen so much. But I think it's just very peak, like co-parenting, Eddie finally being like, yeah, I do need to dad up. Finally realizing what we've been saying since the finale of 7 and doing it in a very Eddie way. We love it.
I have a lot of favorite episodes, more than the 4 that I have written down, because like honestly, the sweet range of season 8 really was from like 805 to like 813.
Yeah.
With the inclusion of 817. Oh, but skip 807, sorry. I had to put that in there.
We don't talk about her.
We don't talk about her. But to name some of the standouts was 809, which was again 8B came out of the gate like again, I was at the Super Bowl. I don't fucking know. Like there was, I don't know.
The Buddy Bowl.
The Buddy Bowl. I kept calling it the Buddy half. And I was like, what are we really, we're textualizing this to like some level.
Wild.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Because you went from like Maddie and actual hell to like the girls are fighting. Like it was
that was something.
So unserious, but like living for it.
It's serious for them.
Yeah. I mean, Buck got a dog. He adopted a dog. He was spiraling that he had to go and adopt a dog.
Even worse, Eddie was jealous
of the dog.
Yeah. Of a dog.
Like in some weird way, he was jealous of the dog.
Yeah.
Like so weird. So weird. And I enjoy seeing Eddie. Like, there's a different side of Eddie that I think we got to see in some of these episodes. And I know that all of that really started from 806, because I think he started to be more like trying to find that joy and everything. But like, he was able to like, I feel like he was able to express himself more, or this is one of those episodes that I was able to see him express, like, I don't know, just a different side. And I really enjoyed that. 811, the scoff. Heard around the world.
Yeah.
I don't think I gotta explain it. 813. I mean, we get to see Eddie finally tell his mom off. Finally. And then 817. Fuck. 817 with that fucking kitchen scene. The kitchen scene, plus seeing Eddie talking to Hen and Karen, and then seeing Eddie do his version of his grand gesture of bringing Christopher back. I'm like, these are good fucking episodes. I have no complaints, except for obviously, you know, the off-screen shit, but like, these are my favorite that I will keep rewatching until season 9.
It's interesting seeing them all laid out here, because it's like there's so much overlap with
Rachel listed a third of the season.
Well, that's why I was like, I looked at Rachel's list and I was like, okay, there's a sweet range right here. I know what the range is. I know what she's trying to do.
Yeah. Like, basically everything that you guys said. I will say 805 Masks. I love that episode. So fun. I think that's one of the most fun episodes of television I've ever watched. Like, it just had so much like lighthearted stuff in it.
I love a silly, goofy Buck episode.
I love that. Yeah, it was just so enjoyable and just fantastic all around. It had the flavor of Jinx and Cursed, I think, because it was written by the same writer. I think that's Taylor Wong. Like, it was just pure enjoyment for me. And then 806, for obvious reasons, I think that was objectively one of the best episodes of the season. And then when it comes to like 9, 10, 11, that little run, I just put like 9 and 11 on here, but that little run, I felt like we were watching fan fiction on our screens. And I
like very good fan fiction.
Good, yes.
The best fan fiction.
No, fan fiction compliment. Like, anytime I say
bookmarked and recommended to everyone.
Kudos, you have already left kudos here. I want to leave more. Like, like the highest of compliments, and it just like gave such a rush, right?
Yeah.
And then 813. 813 obviously, because it was all about Eddie. And we finally got to see Eddie stand up to Helena, because that was one of the things that we'd been waiting for so long. So it also felt like kind of fan fiction, but like very grounded in the character way. And then I loved 17 so much. I thought that was so solidly what 911 is. I think really 17 and 6 are probably my favorite episodes of the season. Like, my favorite episodes of this, because it's just like it is quintessential 911. It is wonderful character work. Everyone's involved a little bit. It has a lot of meaning for the rest of the season as well. Like, there's just a lot there. So I know I listed like half of the season. I'm sorry.
You did. It's okay. Top 3 moments for all of us for the season. Mine are going to be very basic, and if you've watched our reaction videos, you'll probably be able to guess mine.
Again, they're available on Patreon.
Yes, some of them are also on YouTube, but the full reactions are on Patreon. The Abby reveal. The same Tommy. So I said that in our very first podcast episode, which was June 2024. And then we just kept talking about it more and more, like partially clowning, to the point that we were like, we're not clowning about this at all anymore. Like, we really think that it just should be. And then it was. So that was literally like our team won the Super Bowl, and we placed a lot of money on it and won. Like, that's what that feeling was. Like, I think I literally was out of my seat cheering. Incredible.
Oh God.
And then I don't have to want to sleep with everyone I have feelings for. And I don't have to have feelings for everyone I sleep with.
Bro.
That was an out-of-body fucking experience. I was literally like, what the fuck did you just say to me?
Every time I think about that line or like I rewatch that scene, it's like I get like a residual high.
Yeah.
From like mentally, emotionally.
Yeah. There was just screaming. It was just like white noise. I was hitting frequencies only dogs could hear.
It's that what, Phil?
No, it's also the lead up. The lead up to that. Just
yes.
I mean, yeah.
The whole scene.
Okay.
The whole scene. Okay. The whole scene is so fucking good. But it was that line specifically that I was like,
what are we doing?
Literally, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I think all of our eyes bugged out of our heads, our jaws dropped. We were just like, did he just said that.
We rewound it and watched it like 4 times, like while the episode was still airing before we continued. Because like we needed a moment. We were like, he did say that, right? He did? He didn't
hallucinate that? No? Okay.
It wasn't a fever dream. Meg was watching that with us and we were like, oh no, he said that. He said it. He did. Crazy. And then last but certainly not least, the risky business dance, because what can I say? Pure joy, pure enjoyment. Give me more of that.
So my top 3 moments, guess what? Or spoiler alert, they're all Buddy related.
What?
Crazy. No. All right. So first we have, Buck doing his own grand gesture of breaking his lease to sublet Eddie's house, because there's just something about him doing that. And then Eddie being like, you really did that for me? For me? I don't know. Just the way that they're looking at each other, the actual shock.
Disgusting.
And it's just a lot. There's just so much in that scene that, I don't know. I think they, Ryan and Oliver acted actually everything on my list, they really did the most. But yeah, no, I always go back to rewatch that moment because, like, I don't know, just their faces are doing things that I'm just like, ooh. Anyway,
it's like very intentional and very subtle, like facial acting.
Yeah,
so good,
which is really good.
It's in the eyebrows. It's in the eyes.
Mouth. Yeah. My next one is the Buddy kitchen fight in 817, and then how we continue that with Eddie doing his own grand gesture of bringing Chris back to cheer Buck up. Actually, just those 2 scenes, like I really can't like pinpoint an exact moment. Just those 2 scenes together, just like make me so happy. I know, it's actually like there's a lot of angst in here actually, and I'm queen of angst over here because I love angst, but I love the actual like the fixing of that. We're gonna go back to
hurt and comfort.
Yeah, I love the hurt and comfort here. Yeah, I don't know, man. I really enjoyed the Buddy divorces that we got. I don't know why I'm like this, but I'm like
no,
this.
we all like it. It's so good.
Yeah. I don't know, and I think it speaks volumes. Like they both were able to do do like these grand gestures for each other, and I love that it was that they both were able to do that in the same season. My last one. If you guys haven't seen my MCU edit, please go watch it now. So Eddie's suiting up and rescuing Buck and Ravi, and I'm like literally obsessed with that scene. If you guys listen to our episode 17 and 18 special, and if you probably follow me on Twitter, there's the Bathena parallel of it all, of like Athena landing the plane, and Bobby standing on top of the fire truck. It's like the shots are very similar to like Buck looking across to the roof of that park. I don't know if it's a parking garage. The roof of where Eddie is standing, like right across, and then like even the dialogue of like, where are you? And Eddie's like, I'm right in front of you. Like, I don't know. There's just that, and the goo eyes of it all. Like, I'm just like, ooh, we're really doing this, guys. But yeah, so those are my top 3.
I tried to choose some different ones because I'm pretty sure like these are all like all of our favorites. So as I was saying, I think I was trying to choose a couple different ones because I also, for all of the same reasons, love everything that you guys pointed out. For some reason, I really love going back to masks. I really love the moment, like the scene where like Eddie is treating Buck and his boils, And like, yeah, Tommy's there, but it's also like he doesn't exist in the room between them a little bit. I don't know. It's something about the way Buck like looks from Tommy to Eddie and is looking at Eddie and like the lighting of it. I don't know why. It scratches my brain in a good way. I really liked from 808 Wannabes, the whole, basically the whole scene of when Eddie is looking for housing or houses in El Paso and Buck finds out with the tablet, like, what you looking at, Eddie? And the whole, like, what did he think was going on there? And like, you know, that whole thing, but specifically the let's move this party to the couch, and Buck sits on the couch and it kind of dawns over him, and it's not the oh moment, but it's an oh moment. And it's just like, I think that was one of the biggest clue-ins for us. Like, oh, they're doing something with this. And they really were. So I love that moment. I think that is a very poignant and very pivotal moment that brings us into 8B with 9 and 10 specifically. And then I gotta talk about the goodbye and the hug in the rain. Like, that's so romantic. It's so tropey. And every part of that was just so Buck and Eddie too. And like the way they were like so unusually awkward around each other with like the fidgeting and like Eddie's like swinging of the arms and trying to talk, but also like not talking and just the weirdness, but it's so quintessentially them. And I guess, again, the lingering shot on Buck with the feelings of something on his face as Eddie drives away. So I think that's also very interesting.
So, new fears unlocked in you this season. I tried to think really hard about an emergency that like really bothered me, that made me start like looking at something differently, and I couldn't. Something that did stick with me was everyone forgetting Hen's birthday. So that's what I'm saying. Because I'd literally have to die. I would just literally have to not talk to anyone for like a month to regulate my own fucking emotions.
We would never forget your birthday.
I would not have handled it. People forget my birthday every year. That's fine. But not everyone.
Yeah.
Including my partner and my parents. Those are the only people who are not allowed to forget my birthday. I forget someone's birthday, at least one person's birthday every year, and it's normally like the next day. And it's not even that I don't remember their birthday. It's that I just forget to message them because I don't know what day it is.
Yeah. That happens to me. Like I'm
never that upset when people forget. But if every single person forgot and I got not a one happy birthday message on my birthday,
tough. Yeah,
that's a new fear unlocked. Thanks.
Kind of similar. I'm currently having a hard time trying to figure out what emergency this season would, one that's not written down anyway, would make me rethink things. So I'm just going to go with the obvious. It's not really a new fear. It's starting to become an increasing fear that keeps getting mentioned every now and then on the news, which is planes.
Oh, yeah, that has been kind of plaguing you, hasn't it?
Like, yeah, and it kind of sucks that, okay, so one trip is down. so, but I still have like, I think 3 more this year where I have to get on a plane to go somewhere. So,
I only have the end of July.
I'm scared. I'm always scared. I'm literally right when I'm boarding, I'm like, I'm gonna take a moment to pray for a second, which is something I don't really do on the daily, like at all. I'm like, listen, if you're out there, man,
yeah,
please keep me safe. Thanks.
Are you there, God? It's me, Priscilla.
Not the government. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's a new fear, but I think that is a
one that's just been sticking
and
with
increasing.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. For all of us.
Never really had a fear of planes, actually, because like I'm like, it's one of the safest forms of transportation. But like what's been happening, I'm like,
is it?
Like my flight for our friend's trip at the end of July, or no, my flight back got changed significantly, that I was like, I need to book a new flight. And I picked the time that would have me not be on the Boeing specifically.
My Southwest flight was a Boeing.
Yeah.
Rachel?
I hate the idea of just like anything getting into like the water reservoirs.
Mm-hmm.
That scares me. Just like contaminating like the water reservoir, but specifically in this case, methane in the water, and it makes it go on fire, and it's like, oh great,
makes it go boom.
Awesome. Love that that's a thing that could happen. Awesome. So yeah, I guess that's kind of 2 for 1. Luckily Florida doesn't really have earthquakes, but to like gas pockets, I don't know. I guess earthquakes are still a big no thank you to me.
Yeah, I think we've all gone on record saying a big no thank you to those. Rachel,
take
it away. Season themes.
All right. So this is going to probably be a little bit longer than our usual little themes that are like per episode, because I was trying to put together like all of the themes that we've kind of been tracking throughout, which I always find really interesting to look back to. So you've heard them before and you're going to hear them again. Sorry, but you're also welcome, I guess. Here's a kind of new one that I'm not sure we really honed in on as much like as we were watching, but the idea of sacrifice, and kind of specifically parents sacrificing for their kids. I think we see this a few times, like in 801 with the mom and the girl who were both allergic to bees, but she gave the EpiPen to the daughter, kind of like the antidote to Chimney and all that stuff. There's Dennis Jenkins sacrificing himself for Bobby, taking like the bullet for him. Hen working on Halloween is just kind of like a sacrifice for the job. Eddie leaving LA for Christopher is sacrificing a lot. The biggest one is obviously Bobby sacrificing himself for the team. Literally dad sacrificing himself for the kids. So that's a major one that's kind of like popped out of the woodwork a little bit. We've also got missing big moments. Again, parents not being present specifically. We also have living your worst nightmare. And I think we see this a number of times, especially when there are children in danger. It happened multiple times on any of the calls that deal with kids. We saw it with, Hen and Karen and Denny, how like that is for a parent, that is like the worst thing imaginable. But we also saw it in a couple other ways. Like most literally when Maddie was, I think it was in Voices 810, when she had that nightmare about her losing her voice at dispatch, and then it happened. There's also just like a general theme of belonging, and then underneath that, like kind of connected, we have being displaced or feeling disconnected became a major theme. So being displaced like physically, but feeling disconnected emotionally. And on the flip side, belonging as in finding a home or reconnecting, reconciling. So it's mostly about like support systems versus carrying something alone, right? Where you have like all of that kind of like culminates in the same kind of thing for me. Then one of our favorites, we have masks or facades. Also similar in a similar vein, like being misled. And then fake outs or twists, which are a contentious subject right now, but they're there. They are there. Many of them. We also have the concept of leadership, and kind of on the flip side, corrupt authorities. So like what makes a good leader, how one leads well. We also have stuff like even as innocuous as Gerard asking Bobby for like tips and tricks on the hotshot set, but also with like Ortiz being corrupt, the agents from the very beginning of 8 being corrupt, all of that stuff. Like there's a lot of corrupt authorities, and then you see that leadership coming through as well. Finding joy is a big one. Maddie and Chimney with the baby, Eddie most obviously. Then there are difficult goodbyes and stages of grief. You've got difficult goodbyes, but not only when it comes to death, but goodbyes when it's like Buck saying goodbye to Eddie and how difficult that was, and him going through the stages of grief, even though Eddie's not dead. He's still there. He's just 800 miles away. But then you have it in a literal sense with Bobby. And another one that is like a really big thing. It's a series theme, really, but like adapting and moving forward versus feeling stuck. Yes, I'm sorry. There's another take a shot. I mentioned stuck. There you go. You're welcome.
You give me alcohol.
So still waiting for my $1.
Oh yeah, I'll Venmo that to you. So like how one moves forward from anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you spiral and do you like stick your feet in the mud? And a lot of that is kind of like dealing with your past and past traumas. So you can't outrun your past, but you can figure out how to move forward.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're going to talk about some production.
Oh God. I'm not sure I'm ready for this.
Girl, that's all you.
Well, no, I have the Bobby Bones Breadcrumbs listed out. I don't even think these are all of them. These are just the ones that Syl and I were rewatching a lot of this while she was here, and I kept going, oh my God. Oh my God.
Wait, is this under the meta part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is mostly just meta. So I guess there's some production aspects in here because I guess what I'm operating off of is like some assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
Should I start with my thing? I don't know what we're doing. I feel like I'm already explaining this.
Yeah, might as well.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
So I'm operating off of some assumptions that I feel like are logical deductions, but also Domois like had a question submitted to see like if they could find out anything about like what happened with Peter leaving the show, and they answered that it was like all very normal stuff that he just wanted to leave, and that tracks because he has been saying for years now that like the schedule, the production schedule is really hard on him, very demanding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of operating off of the assumption that he did actually want to leave. This wasn't just a creative decision. They went into the season knowing that Bobby was going to die, and it wasn't a last minute decision.
I will just like put a little asterisk here saying that like Domois is not. It's like a gossip thing. It is not like a legitimate source.
For sure, however, but I was already thinking this before that came out.
I'm not saying this to you. I'm just saying this like in general. So like you have to take it with a little grain of salt. But I think we've talked about this, and thinking about the season with that kind of in mind, especially I think in light of what we got with Bobby at the very end of season 7, starts to make a little more sense if you think about it like as a kind of planned thing. I don't know if you want me to say my thing about the season 7, whatever.
Yeah, go ahead.
But my kind of thought, and again, this is all like speculative, but the context of which helps make more sense. So with the whole like Bobby preparing for retirement, and we got the montage and all of that stuff that we didn't get in season 8, I kind of have a feeling that they were trying, that the intention was for Bobby to either retire or be killed off with that fire after saving Athena. And I feel like, and totally speculative, do not quote me on anything, this is based on nothing but vibes. I feel like the network might have had their little fingers in the pies, and is like, we've only had this for not even a full season, only 10 episodes. You can't kill off one of your mains already. Like, we're not going to allow that. So I kind of feel like they put the kibosh on Bobby's retirement / death in 7. And it was kind of in the talks, in the works for season 8 at some point, and they might have been pushing it off until the last minute.
Agreed. So all of this again, there's nothing really factual here. It's just going off of like logical deductions based on what happened, because like the information that we've been given is pretty much nothing other than what Tim has said, and we know that he's a lying liar who lies.
Yeah.
So anyway, here is my list of what I am calling Bobby Bones Breadcrumbs. This is not a definitive list by any means, but here are just like
some things that you may have missed or not thought of in as omens. So starting with season 8, episode 1, Buck says we should all quit, saying how if they all did it, then they could convince the chief to bring Bobby back. So that sounds like foreshadowing meta commentary on like everyone's gonna say they're gonna stop watching the show if they don't bring Bobby back. Then we see Bobby on the hotshot set almost get taken out by a camera. And then also we have Gerard saying, sorry, we're still on episode 1. Chief's up my ass about budget cuts and you're buying organic fruit leather. Budget cuts, which is actually, that's the only factual thing we do know, is that there were budget cuts in every other ABC network show. All of them had to write off, I believe, 1 or 2 characters.
All of them?
I'm pretty sure.
Interesting.
Like a bunch of them.
Because I also know like other networks are experiencing budget cuts as well. And
Grey's killed off 2 characters. Oh. We were talking about this in the Discord. I wish I had written this down. Do your own research. It's a thing. So I think I find it hard to believe that like there would be budget cuts on all the other biggest shows and not what is probably most likely their most expensive show.
Yeah.
And I believe that Peter was probably making the most per episode, or is Angela?
I would imagine Angela. I think she's number 1 on the call sheet.
Okay.
So, but probably not far behind.
Peter's the one who we're thinking wanted to leave anyway. So anyway, budget cuts. Again, we're doing meta commentary here. Then 8:03, we have the man who killed Athena's fiance, Dennis, taking a bullet for Bobby. So he was almost killed in episode 3. And Dennis says, well, I owed her one. Then in 8:04, we have Gerard say to Buck, which is why you're going to tell me who to fire. Mandated budget cuts from upstairs, 10% across the board. But we are going to do better. We'll cut 12, starting with layoffs. That's what happens when you save the boss's life. Instead of being on the list, you get to make it. Another thought, again, none of this is factual. It's just headcanons, basically headcanons of real life, of what happened in this behind the scenes that we haven't, like, we're just trying to make sense of it. We do know that they were originally going to kill Ravi. Maybe Peter stepped in, kill me instead, because, like, I already want to leave, or you were already planning on doing that.
Talk about dad making a sacrifice.
Exactly. Also in 8:04, we have Bobby saying to Athena, this was a kicker for me. Well, the sun was coming up. Another night shoot. I don't know how that crew does it. It's not civilized. There has to be a more efficient way. Shoot during the day.
They do a lot of night shoots.
Yeah.
Like in the actual show. Yeah. And I love the reason they gave in universe where it's like, it makes because fire look cooler.
Looks better at night. Yeah. Then at 8:05, we have Buck at Billy Boyle's grave saying, truth is, I can't imagine anything more painful than going through life alone, except maybe one thing, going through death alone. And was Bobby alone? Technically, no. But yes.
But very sequestered.
No one could touch him. Not everyone could be there.
Yeah. I would also like to add for 8:05, I know the whole masks costume theory is interesting. And Bobby was Dracula, who is dead / undead, whichever way you want to take that, but sleeps in where? A coffin.
And Hen was a mad scientist. So.
Yeah. And then also, this one's stupid, but I was including it for the lulz. When Athena at the end is talking to the kids and she's like, and that's no cap.
No cap.
And I watched that and I was like, no cap, no.
Oh my God, Rachel.
Totally like not the way it was meant, but it was just kind of like, oh, no, no cap. That's where we are now. Anyways.
Boo.
All right. Now, I'm going to need the two of you to help me pick this apart. I know there's something here. But 8:07.
Yeah.
We have the chief talking to Bobby. Bobby's finally back. But the chief is there. And he says, you see, you know who Mr. Torrance isn't such a fan of Vincent Gerard. And Bobby's like, how's that my problem? And the chief says, because Brad wants you back on Hot Shots. He doesn't like or trust Gerard, says it's affecting his performance. Bobby says, Chief, I'm a fire captain of the LAFD. Some TV star can't just snap his fingers and change that. Can he? And the chief says, the Hot Shots franchise donates a tremendous amount to our budget. point is, one way or another, we need to make them happy. And then Bobby says, with all due respect, I'm a fire captain, not a miracle worker. And she says, well, you better start praying.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot here.
There is. And it's kind of hard to parse out because it's like so meta-textual.
Yeah.
I feel like we spoke a little bit in our Discord. We had a conversation a couple days ago, and it was a little bit about like how Gerard in like the Hot Shots storyline and going forward, like not necessarily in like 801, I don't know. How Gerard could kind of be in a meta way, like a mouthpiece for Tim, like not necessarily like a self-insert.
I was just about to say, like, is Gerard Tim Minear in this scenario?
I don't think he's actually like I don't think Gerard's like a self-insert.
No, but I think he's acting like a mouthpiece.
Because if you think about it here, the audience is Brad Torrance.
Yeah.
Like in all of these like we'll get there.
Obsessed with Bobby, like
obsessed with Bobby. Mm-hmm. Yes. But if you look at this, it's like the audience cannot stand. We're not a fan of Tim Minear. I mean, like we're not there, but like a lot of the fandom has been yelling about Tim Minear, right?
There's just like in general, like kind of a lack of faith in showrunners.
Yes.
In
general.
General.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Han, if you can pull up the transcript for episode 4 during the golf scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Gerard is talking to Buck about like, you know what no one has accused me of?
Yeah.
Beloved.
Being beloved.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, sure. He's a great guy. Beloved. Know what no one's ever accused me of being? And he's like, beloved? He says, damn straight. Because when it comes to leadership, it's better to be feared than loved.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that's giving? I'm a benevolent God.
No, it is. It is giving like Tim Reaper, you know, like it's better to be feared than loved. And I kind of feel like a lot of times this has been Tim's like MO a little bit. Like he doesn't care about being loved.
No, he wants to tell good stories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they make people angry.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But it means it's still effective
evoking
because people
emotion.
Yes. Exactly.
And people are still watching. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, listen, as much as some people in fandom are happy about the tanked ratings for some of these episodes, those are IMDb ratings, and the network does not give
They don't care.
Single flying fuck about the IMDb rating. They care about how many butts are in chairs watching it the night it airs, and then the following week on Hulu.
Yeah, which are a lot of people.
Because advertisers aren't giving the network money based on the IMDb rating. They're basing it based on how many people are watching the show.
Yeah.
Because like we're getting a couple thousand maybe reviews on IMDb. Millions of people are watching it.
Mm-hmm. And there's a whole other conversation about like the outdatedness of like the Nielsen ratings and how streamers like quantify and count like their views and for how like anyways, but that's another thing.
So I do think that there's just a lot in here because it's like Brad wants you back on Hot Shots. So like we want Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's layered things there.
Yes.
We wanted Tim, the fandom wanted Tim to come back as showrunner. He did come back in season 7. But then as soon as he's doing stuff people don't like, then it's all of a sudden, we're Brad Torrance with Gerard. The stuff about like donating a tremendous amount to our budget, I feel like is like pretty like self-explanatory. Like they don't have a show without an audience.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to tell a story that's going to keep people watching, but you don't necessarily have to do fan service and do everything they would want that would make them happy.
Mm-hmm. Also, going back to 804 very briefly, because now that we're talking about Gerard as kind of a mouthpiece for Tim, in 804, when they're talking about budget cuts and Bobby goes to Gerard on Hot Shots and Bobby comes to Gerard and says, I know how you're going to cut the budget. I know who you have to get rid of. You. So it's Bobby who would be the Peter in this situation saying, I know how you're going to take care of this. You get rid of you. But I think in terms, it's like talking about himself. It's like a weird, it's not like a one-to-one, but I feel like that is in a similar vein to what we're talking about here. And 7.
And again, so this is all just conjecture. Peter is an executive producer, so he would be more aware of like budget cuts coming up if people were going to be laid off, that kind of thing. So I really feel like with what we know about Peter and him already kind of not really loving the like brutal toll that the filming schedule is taking, and kind of being like the dad on set, that he might have taken one for the team.
Yeah. Just like pure foreshadowing with like Bobby saying, with all due respect, I'm a fire captain, not a miracle worker, because that is foreshadowing his mom being a miracle worker, and also just the fact that like he can't perform the miracles. And then Chief Simpson saying, well, you better start praying, which is exactly like what Bobby did at the very end there. 808, when Brad is shadowing the 118, and we see the whole conversation with Brad and the fan on the ledge. And I think that's a lot of meta commentary as well. And I think there is stuff about things that can be read into Bobby. I know we talked a lot about like, well, he made him come back and awake.
Yeah, I was going to say like all of the things that we have been saying continually were foreshadowing for Bobby coming back. We have always said that you could take them either way. So in addition to all these things I just said, just take all the things that we've been telling you could have been for Bobby coming back and take them subverted. Yeah. I just didn't want to like be too repetitive with, because we've said those a lot.
Like going back into season 8, I think in the way that events have kind of transpired, I think it is kind of similar. And we saw a lot in the second half of parallels to season 2. So I kind of do think maybe there was a lot of like a false sense of security, red herring sort of thing, like they did with Shannon and foreshadowing her death.
Yes.
Yeah, about miracles and about mothers, you know, like like surviving, and then to kind of like have that expectation and then completely undercut it.
Yeah.
With the way things worked out this way, I feel like that's kind of similar in intentionality.
And then the last meta one that I noticed was an 812. Chris says to Eddie to like give the PS5 back. It's like, because you need to save your money if you're going to stick around.
Woof. That's a big one. Yeah. There's an odd amount of like budget talk, money talk, like Buck and Eddie have terrible credit. All of that stuff. Like I didn't actually finish like a full season 8
Eddie
rewatch.
Spent every last penny of his savings
on a fixer-upper of a house. There's a lot going on there that I think is a meta commentary about money, maybe in terms of the show and network.
Yeah. You know, there was also I never bought into it, but like that fear that Eddie was also going to leave the show or, you know, and then there's commentary from Ryan who's like, am I getting killed off? Like this is like the second or third time.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, he gets a call from Tim Minear and he's like, am I getting killed off or something? And so now that you pointed that out, Han, and he's saying that to Christopher, that's like, you know,
Christopher saying it to Eddie.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. That Christopher saying that to Eddie, that's kind of like, ooh. I mean, again, I don't think that was ever the plan, but
no,
I don't think so either. But, you know, you have to think about it that if they had to do budget cuts, the same way a lot of these other network shows had to do to get rid of 1 or 2 characters in this finale season, I guess.
Because it wasn't just ABC, it's kind of across the board.
Yeah. Yeah, because network TV is kind of like a dying breed.
Yeah.
Viewership for it's down, which means advertising for it is down, which means
they can't pour as much money into it without ROI.
Think about if we didn't kill Bobby, someone else would have had to go. And like maybe they wouldn't have had to die, but like they would have had to like written them off. So who
the easiest person to write off?
Well, Ravi would be the easiest, but he's not saving them a lot of money because he's not even a regular. So it'd have to be like too lower end of the
call sheet
of the regulars.
Yeah. And that's also one of the reasons, because like if you put 2 consistent recurring characters who are lower on a call sheet and you like look at their, I guess, like salary together, but then you look at something like Peter's, who would probably amount to like the same, if not more, of that money. Like, technically, I think they would be saving more money by having Peter leave. So, like, from just a purely monetary, like, meta looking at things.
And he is still making money.
Because he's an executive producer.
Because he's an executive producer. So, like, whereas, like, if anyone else besides Angela had gotten written off, they aren't making any money from the show anymore, besides, like, whatever the residuals would be. But I don't even know.
Those are like pennies to the dollar, I think. Yeah. Like, it's never been good.
No.
So, like, it makes sense if, you know, one of those themes is sacrifice. If someone, namely, stepped up and said, take me.
He stepped up, or if it was part of the conversation.
Yeah. Like, they could have come to this as a creative decision together. I think the creative decision is more of like the how it happened in the show, which is a different conversation.
Which is a different conversation that I think we'll have in a mini-sode.
Yeah.
Because that was a last-minute decision.
Yeah.
How that was done.
That's pretty clear to me.
Yeah.
I think looking at it through this lens, it makes more sense that they were planning something. And it's the how that maybe like came together.
How it was done wasn't probably originally the plan.
Yeah.
But like, basically, if you think about it this way, this is what I've cooked up in my conspiracy theory brain.
Tin hats on.
If all of the things that if the whatever version of this you want to accept of like the budget cuts and Peter wanting to leave, all that stuff, if they started off the season knowing that this was going to happen, and then he did decide how he was going to do it in Contagion, then leaking the funeral, he probably thought that was going to be a good thing and help prepare people, because this was kind of out of nowhere. That backfired.
Yeah.
But then he probably also was like, oh, and then we'll have 3 episodes to like, instead of having it be the finale, which is probably what like major character deaths are normally like in the finale.
Yeah.
So like, oh, then we'll have 3 episodes to like really explore the grief. And then that kind of like backfired too. So
again, I think we'll talk about that more in like our
we will.
Meta of that and PR stuff. Since this is the season wrap, just to kind of like, again, we might delve into this a little bit more with the meta focused episode that I think we want to do. But just kind of like looking at the narrative structure throughout season 8, like kind of how it was built in a way, like how with the Bobby death being kind of like a derailment, because it seemed like there was such a clear path forward for like the season 8A and the first half of B were like really rocking and rolling, going down a very specific path, and that this was like that sharp turn left, and how that doesn't necessarily like fit in with the trajectory that was kind of like put forth from the beginning, which is what they usually do. Like, they're very tightly planned seasons in that way, right? Like, the details can get shuffled around.
Yeah.
But this seemed like a really big departure, right? And then just the fact that there were like so many multi-part like events.
It's enough slices.
Which it was kind of enough slices. So I did the math. I did the math, and we've got.
You did math?
Wow.
The artist did math?
I did some math. I got my calculator out and everything. So let's just like count the multi-parts. I know we generally have multi-part things. It's usually the opener, sometimes mid-season, finale and or premiere, and then finale.
1 episode for the finale.
Yeah. This is what we had. We had the beenado moving into the plane opening emergency, which was 801, 2, and 3. So that's 3 episodes. Then when we come back from winter hiatus, we have Maddie and the Weepy Voice Killer. That was marketed as a 2-part episode. So we had 809 and 810. That's 2. So that's 5. Then we had Contagion, which was marketed as a 2-part episode with 14 and 15. I think 16 has to be included in that because it's a direct
continuation.
Directly continues from that. So we've got 14, 15, 16. So technically, I'm counting that as 3. And then we have the building collapse, which doesn't happen until the end of 17, but it gets set up. So we've got 17 and 18. So that's 2. So that is, if we include episode 16 as really a 3-part Contagion event, we have 10 episodes, which is 10 episodes out of 18 episodes is part of a multi-part event, which is 55.5% of the entire season. We're tired
of this, Grandpa.
That is so many multi-part events, and 2, 5, 7 of those happened in 8B, which was 809 to 818, which was 10 episodes. 7 of those were multi-part events. That's a lot.
That's too many.
That's a little.
Yeah, there was definitely a pacing problem. I didn't feel it until 8B, later in 8B.
Yeah,
when I was like, oh, because I think people were saying it in 8A, and I was like, trust the process.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
We were all like that too.
The entire second half of the season.
It kind of took itself a little slower, and then bam, it was like we were on a speed rail, like a bullet train.
Mm-hmm. Driving past all of the major plots.
Yeah.
That we set up in 8A.
I like the concept of pretty much all of these big events.
For sure.
Whether or not the Contagion stuff was like, I like the concept of it. But like one after the other like that was just a lot of, it's very like heavy emotional, like high stakes stuff, especially when you've got the fake out of Maddie and that surprise. And it was just a lot. So maybe not so many. I wouldn't be surprised also if it was maybe more of a network demand sort of to have them like ramp up for viewership and ratings and everything like that, like do more. And then, you know, all that's left to comply is like, okay, especially because so much of it came in that second half. But I think 911 is at its strength when it focuses on the character stuff and like the littler emergencies that kind of feed into the emotional story being told for our main characters. Not that we don't love the big emergencies, but that was just a lot. It was a lot. That's all.
Cool. Parallels.
There are lots of parallels. I don't know how much. I was taking some notes of like some Bobby and Athena, like Bobby death foreshadowing or parallels and stuff from early season 8. I don't know how much we really want to get into it, but just a little. So I don't have that many, but I'll name a few. Like there's, I think, a lot of visual parallels with, I think it was 801 and 816 or 801, whenever the flashback of Athena to Emmett's funeral, there's visual parallels because you've got Athena in sunglasses, like those big sunglasses, that close up shot. I think it's when Athena is about to pick up Dennis Jenkins and it flashbacks to her confrontation with him about Emmett. And then, it's 802, the flashbacks to Emmett's funeral, where Athena gave a eulogy and said a lot of things about Emmett that kind of rings true for Bobby as well. Like it was his calling, and grateful that he came into her life, and grateful for his love and his commitment to the city of LA and his department. And the best thing that they can do is honor the work. And she will always honor him and always love him. She was saying all of that about Emmett, but how closely does that kind of mirror what we got in 16, 17, 18, mostly 18 when we finally got to that? Buck is the one to bring Bobby up to speed about Athena in 802, but Buck is also the one to bring Athena to Bobby in 816. So that kind of like mirror there. In 803, Bobby calls Maddie and asks her to patch him through to Athena, says he needs to hear her voice just in case. And I think that's kind of very similar to I need to speak with my wife. And then Bobby staying on the phone with Athena in 803, and both of them wanting to spend all the time they have left together, which is very similar to Athena not leaving in 815 as well. So that's as far as I got with that. I think there was a lot of parallels there, which also, like, looking at it in this light, kind of lead me to believe, maybe there was some intention going forward, or they were just looking back at the beginning of season 8, deciding to do like some intentional mirroring stuff like after the fact. But I have a feeling it was more. There were a couple parallels that I saw about Chim and Hen and captaincy, right? So in 802, once Gerard is incapacitated after he was almost taken out by that literal saw trap, Chimney defaults to Hen as captain, like immediately as interim captain. So he looks at her, he's like, okay, so you're the captain now. What's your first thing that you want to do? She's like, a dance party. So I think that also kind of sets up some of that expectation of the audience for Hen to take over the job when it's discussed in 817, 818, by Chimney addressing Hen as captain first. It kind of mirrors Hen addressing Chimney and calling him Cap first in 818. So I like that mirror there as well. And then I also thought there was a lot of really interesting stuff when you look at 804, 17 and 18 kind of combined. So in 804, we have the councilwoman Ortiz threatening to shutter the 118, and Hen gives this big speech in front of the town hall or whatever it is, the hearing thing. And Hen says, this isn't just a station. This is our family, and we won't stand by while that family is broken up. And that sounds very similar to Chimney's speech about how the 118 is not just a number, it's us, and we're not throwing away what Bobby built, which is a family sticking together in threat of being split up. So that idea of everybody being disconnected and fractured in that way comes up again in both 804 and 1718. And then I know we've talked about it a little bit, but the songs at the end of both of those episodes are really interesting because in 804, you have the song about finding your people, where it has Bobby returning to the 118 and everybody like coming back together and things are kind of how it should be. And it's this like very joyous kind of celebration where everybody is all together again. And then in 18, we have this tragedy is not the end of the story, which we see a reunion of the family as well, and the return of Bobby Nash Han. Bobby reincarnated in Baby Han. So that kind of mirror as well. It sets a very similar tone. Obviously, 18 is a lot more bittersweet, but it kind of similar when you have the team coming back together as a family, sticking together, and the threat of being separated or fracturedness.
I'm not going to get deep into this because I kind of feel like there's a full ass special here to dig into for kitchen scenes, Buck and Eddie kitchen talks. But yeah, so there are 6 that off the top of my head I wrote down. And I think there's a very stark contrast between what we get in every season before this one.
Yeah.
So in 309, which is like our first kitchen scene. Yes, our first kitchen scene, we get Buck apologizing for not being there. Buck trying to get Eddie to open up. Doesn't really open up, but like they're Gucci, right? Like they have a talk and they're good. And then in 511, we have Taylor over for dinner. And then this is when Eddie had left the 118 and he was at dispatch and follows Eddie into the kitchen. And is like, hey, it's just me, like trying to get him to talk to him and like open up. Like he's like, it's not where you're supposed to be, as in like dispatch. And Eddie's like, you need to let it go. I have. So this is like the most contention we felt in a kitchen scene, but like they were still okay-ish. But again, we see Buck trying to get Eddie to open up. There's a pattern here. And then we have 612, where this is right after this is recovery. Yes, this is recovery.
Yes.
Right after the lightning strike, where Buck goes over to the Diaz house, falls asleep, and then wanders into the kitchen when he wakes up. And he asks Eddie to open up, and he actually does. To an extent, we're always suspicious about how much Eddie actually remembers. But he does open up a little bit and, does it in order to get Buck to open up to him. But Buck doesn't really have much to say about like where he's at in that moment. So it's a little bit of a role reversal.
Yeah.
And then we have 709. 709. And, Buck is here once again, trying to get Eddie to open up. And like Eddie's saying things, but like he's kind of in the same position Buck was in 612, where like he just doesn't know what his motivations are. He doesn't know what his feelings are.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know what he wants. Interesting.
Yeah.
But like at the end of all of these kitchen conversations, they're fine, including 808.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. Which is when Buck finds out about Eddie moving. Not because Eddie tells him, but because he was like, oh, porn on your tablet. Oh, you're leaving me. Cool. Great. Love this for me.
Surprise.
And then we get 817.
Which is so different.
It's so wildly different because like they, in all of these other kitchen scenes, they at least, even when like one or the other completely didn't open up or say much, there was still like, you could feel like they were okay at the end of it. Like there was still like, page. Yeah, there was still like respect, understanding, like listening to the other person or respecting that they weren't like ready to open up, that kind of thing. They are in different fucking planets in this scene. And I think it's really interesting because it is a complete role reversal from most of the other ones, because Eddie is trying to get Buck to open up, but he's not good at being the person to get the other person to open up.
He's good at the logical grounding, not the emotional, like...
And that's not how they work. Like, that's not the dynamic that they've set up for 7 years, right? So it's just really interesting to look at. I would like to like dive into this further.
I think we are going to do a kitchen special.
Yeah.
Well, a couple, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, it's always the kitchen.
Scene of the crime every time.
I know we're kind of out of time, but there have been a lot of Bathena Buddy parallels, or Bobby and Eddie parallels, Athena and Buck parallels in season 8. I mean, I know like everyone has caught on to these parallels like throughout other seasons, but I felt like some of these were very like loud, starting with like the building collapse rescue with Buck and Eddie, and then the landing of the plane with Bobby and Athena.
Mm-hmm.
Even their dialogue is kind of sort of similar, or it's a similar, like, is it pacing or cadence of that kind of dialogue that they're both having, which is, I feel like it's also set up for Buddy being the new it couple. There's also some like framing that they also had, which was like the Spock and Kirk kind of that blocking. So you have it in 815 with Bobby and Athena during their goodbye scene, and then we see it in 809 when Buck offers to help Eddie sublet the house, and and actually that leads
between them, right?
That wall between them, and it's a glass wall between them. But speaking of walls, that's another thing. That's another like
layer,
parallel theme throughout the season, especially with Buck and Eddie.
Is the wall the thing between them that's messy and hard?
Well, it's definitely hard. Maybe it's messy because they're going to tear it down. Maybe one day soon, hopefully.
Here's hoping.
Yeah, that tearing that down is going to be messy. But no, I mean, it really starts off with the parallel of their confessionals. So like Eddie's on the left and Buck is on the right. So you have that, and if you put those two scenes together, because which I kind of did like a crude little bit of a edit right there where I put the two together, so it looks like they're kind of like talking to each other, but they're separated by that wall.
Yeah, I love that visual. It's so interesting.
And I think also in Confessions, because again, that's that episode where they're not talking to each other. They're sitting on the couch. I believe they're also in they're sitting in the same
position.
Position. Yeah. Again, in 809 with the glass between them, also standing in the same positions.
Also, coincidentally, their sides of the bed.
Their sides of the bed. Yeah.
Yeah. Because canonically, Eddie sleeps on the left and Buck sleeps on the right.
Yep.
I mean, if we want to add the FaceTime calls, like they are talking through some kind of medium. They're separated like 800 miles. They're 800 miles apart, but they are talking through something.
Like the wall can be very literal or metaphorical. But there is always something blocking in between them.
And then again, like not a physical wall, but I think like their awkwardness in 10 during their goodbye. Again, same positioning.
Mm-hmm. Well, as the UST.
Yeah.
Unresolved sexual tension. Yeah.
And then, charts. Yeah, totally. Fucking awkward.
Only in one case is the underlying sexual tension.
Callback.
Finally, I think 817. I would include 809 in this also because it's kind of similar. In 817, when Buck comes back and he finds Eddie standing there like he does, there's that wall that, you know, like in 809, Buck is like, oh, what if we knock this wall down? Mm-hmm. So there's that wall technically between them. Not exactly between them. Eddie is kind of coming around to meet Buck, but there's still that wall between them. So there's a physical wall that maybe they're going to tear down eventually because Buck said, hey, what if we tear it down? Anyway.
There's also a direct parallel of that scene to season 4 when Eddie comes home from his date with Anna where she taught him math. Yeah. And Buck is waiting and leaning on the same wall.
Mm-hmm. And to that, when in 17, when Buck comes in and Eddie's like waiting to show him his surprise, which is Christopher, and Eddie is leaning on that wall.
Mm-hmm. We're not changing the prophecy. We're telling you the prophecy. These we're prophets. We prophesy. These are our predictions of things that we're like pretty sure.
Yeah,
pretty sure will be happening in some manner in season 9. Interim Captain Chimney taking over until they flesh out a story where he realizes he actually wants to do it for good, or until they have someone else's storyline head in that direction.
Yeah. I would be super cool with Captain Chimney.
Yeah. I think we're going to see Hen helping Eddie or Ravi become a certified medic. Ooh. And whoever she does help is going to like be her partner. Paramedi. There's just a lot of foreshadowing for that in season 8. So
yeah, that would make like the most sense, I think.
Well, the only thing for me, and again, I guess I need to like subvert my expectations because like I also was like, I don't want Captain Chimney because he never wanted to be captain. He didn't like it. I just have this idea in my head that like Hen and Eddie did not work well as partners, but it's like maybe if they actually work at it instead of expecting the other person to be Buck or Chimney,
yeah,
they could actually work well together.
Oh, they have to communicate?
Yeah, and I would love to see more like, you know, Hen and Eddie friendship. Mm-hmm. So, Ravi main and third wheeling Buck and Eddie.
Oh, that's happening.
That's happening. Those are the things that I'm pretty sure about.
Yeah.
Other than that,
and I think it's stuff that they have like pretty clearly set up.
Yes.
And it's mostly like the changing of the dynamics of the 118, like like how Chimney said, like it's never going to be the same, but there's still a family and they're still going to like be there together. So I think what better way to like really show how things have changed, but continue moving forward than to like shuffle the partnerships and the dynamics a little bit, which I think will also benefit the characters. Like if we focus a little less on the big emergency events and a little more on like the interpersonal stuff. Again, I think that will be really interesting. And we've already got like Eddie talking to Hen and Karen and having that like stronger connection, Ravi and Buck being partners in that way. And I think that makes the most sense and is the most interesting.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of different things than we're used to, because that was one of the reasons that Tim gave for his creative decision, because it opened up a lot of storylines, and it does. So that's kind of all I'm willing to like say. I'm kind of sure something in this manner is going to happen. Do you guys have anything else?
I think most of the rest of it would be more purely speculative / like wishlisty kind of stuff. Like as we go into our wish list of things that we would like to see, would I be surprised if if some of that happens? No, but I'm not positive,
right,
that it will.
Yeah. Okay. This brings us to our wish list, or educated wishes, if you will, because I don't think any of these things are like out of the realm of possibility. They're just kind of things that we aren't like, yeah, with a certainty, all of this is happening. They're just things that we'd like to see. Options.
Here's some suggestions, Tim.
Yes.
You don't have to take them, but like, here they are.
They're free.
We were having a conversation. I don't remember if this was on a live stream or just us chatting. And we were
having a conversation with Alexa.
That's what it was.
Yes.
And I don't remember, but we were talking something about how we'd like to see, I think if Athena maybe starts like on her track to maybe retirement sort of thing, or training a rookie, something like that. Like we would still want to have like that 118 and LAPD tie together.
It's not necessarily that I want it. I just know that they're going to do it. They're not going to have like not a main regular character in the LAPD represented because they're going to have the trifecta.
Yeah. So we were trying to think like, who would they bring in? Like maybe someone that we know that could be like a good tie. And I don't think this is really likely, but I think it would be great to bring Albert back, and maybe he's a cop now. And then and if Chimney is the captain of the 118, then we could still have that like similar like captain of the 118 and LAPD like relationship, kind of like Bobby and Athena, but just kidding, it's Chimney and Albert and it's brothers, but you still have that like connection there. I don't think that's really likely. I think that would be interesting. It could be a new character that they bring in.
So like kind of a new character that they could bring in is Adriana.
That would be a good one too.
Because then we would get another, like sibling relationship on screen that we haven't seen before. We'd get to see more of like Eddie's kind of childhood through her. Get to see him interact with his sister. Craziness. And then we get like another woman.
Yay.
Because like if Athena's leaving, like we need another woman. Like Hen literally cannot be the only main.
Yeah. And like we're not saying Athena's leaving in season 9. We're saying it wouldn't surprise us if she
starts stepping back.
Yeah. Like within the next.
Yeah, we've already established that like Peppa misses her family, and literally the sisters are a blank slate.
You could do
that
so
they
much
could do anything with
Adriana and or Sophia, like just to see like another side of Eddie's world, but then also that would be a great like parallel to Buck and Maddie and sibling stuff.
I also thought it would be just like easy, low-hanging fruit and hilarious if it's Adriana and then like her and Buck hit it off. And then Tia Peppa's like talking to Eddie about like wanting to set them up with each other because she loves setting people up. And that could just be very interesting to see what his reaction is to that.
Oh, jealous Eddie, maybe. Difficult feelings, maybe. No reasons.
But anyway, here's my speedrun of my wish list. Buck and Eddie opening emergency. Buck and Eddie roommates. I feel like we're not getting it.
I want it.
I feel like we're not getting it. So if we're not getting that, I would like Buck and Athena roommates.
That would be so funny.
Yeah.
I need Buck and Athena roommates if I'm not getting Buck and Eddie roommates.
I would
because
die. That would be amazing.
It would set up like even easier this other thing I want to see, which is Buck and Athena like having a more parental-ish relationship because of, well, they have parallels. They have a lot of like personality things in common. But like, they're the closest to Bobby, the last people to say goodbye. I feel like they have the most similar probably feelings surrounding his death, and like they could really be there for each other in a way that the other people like wouldn't quite.
That makes sense.
Understand.
Yeah.
Right. I would love to see more Peppa and Eddie and more Peppa and Buck. Just more Peppa. Thank you.
Please pass the Peppa.
Maddie and Eddie.
God. It's about damn time.
Maddie and Eddie.
Just make Jennifer Love Hewitt and Ryan Guzman happy and like give them some actual scenes together.
Uncle Buck is busy working. So Uncle Eddie comes over and helps out.
Done.
Easy. More Eddie, Hen, and Karen scenes.
Please.
Eddie and May besties. Eddie isn't most of my wish list.
Wow. Shocking.
I want to see him on my screen.
Yeah.
Eddie and May besties because they're so cute together. Their so
relationship from season 5 was so great.
Yeah.
More, please.
And then also May and Buck sibling bonding, which I feel like we should see. I feel like this thing that we should see is like the Grants and Buck specifically becoming a little closer.
Yeah.
And then I have an unfinished thought here, which is just Eddie making his own decisions, please. Making choices for himself, please. On screen.
I'm not sure the mic's gonna pick that up.
Eddie making choices for himself on screen, please.
Pretty please.
Mhm.
I just need, you know what I need? There is not one Eddie A plot in this season. So to make up for that, I'm going to need a third of next season to be Eddie A plot. Bobby's dead. It's open.
Open season.
Oh my god.
It's open
On
season for
A-plot.
A plots.
Yeah.
I mean, half a season of A plots. Let's go.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ridiculous.
No, didn't write down my wish list. I mean, a lot of it is kind of similar to Hands. Yeah. Eddie A plot would be nice. Eddie being on my screen would be nice. I feel like this season, listen, my summary for Buck was 2 pages long. I felt like this was Buck season. So let's go back to let's give Eddie some more for season 9 and not have him be written in fucking Texas for however long and then missing some of the big moments. I do need more Peppa, Eddie, and Buck scenes. I need that integration and that reminder for Buck that he's also part of the Diaz's family. Because I mean, we already saw it in 817, but you know, I think we need that, and I think Buck definitely needs that because he's very displaced.
Literally and figuratively.
It really is time for Eddie to have some fun now. You know? Whatever Ryan Guzman said in one of those interviews about him having fun and doing things for himself, especially now that Christopher is older and being his own person. You know?
Someone else we know said something about our next
Having
relationship
fun.
being fun.
Also
Also something about wanting to get in each other, but
well, see, and that's the thing. I find that so funny that somebody else said that, and I was like, there's only one person for you, my guy. Because you guys are so freak for freak coded. I literally
Oliver Stark was really like, how can I say freak for freak without saying freak for freak?
Yeah.
For real.
And he got like a 2-for-1 deal with it being just like a interesting euphemism, but also like if you know, where it's like, you know, all of 911 Stan Twitter is like, yeah, they just want to like fold themselves into each other's like right next to each other's heart, like underneath their rib cages, and it's like
they want to wear each other's skin.
Yeah.
They want to live inside each other's rib cages.
And
it's like nearing Hannibal level.
But like more cutesy.
Is.
But cutesy about it.
Way.
Less cannibalism, more like intense intimacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think he said that in probably the best way he could have without raising intense red flags.
Yeah.
So like,
good on him.
What else did they say? They said something else that I was like, Eddie's next relationship just throwing him for a loop. Yes.
Yeah.
Also need that. I need them both to be crashing the fuck out about each other. Yeah. That's it. I guess that's and well, yeah, like I said, everything else was similar to Hands' list, which is honestly, I need the Maddie Eddie.
Yeah.
We need the Tootie. The Tootie? Is that what they call it?
I don't know. Is that how you say it? It's cute.
What
is
I
don't know.
Tootie. Like 2, the number 2, DDIE.
Oh, Tootie.
Yeah, they don't call it Medi, I think.
Well, yeah, because Medi is medic Eddie.
Paramedi.
Medi.
Paramedi. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
2D. It's so cute.
I was like Tutti Frutti? Like, what are we saying?
No, like
2D.
2D.
Number D.
No, but like once you spelled it out, I was like, oh yes, I'm back on board.
I've seen that a couple times.
I say that too.
I do have a loose buddy wish list. I want the lead up to them, each of their realizations, and whatever else we're getting next season. I want it to make me feel insane.
Yes.
Yes.
I want it to piss me off with how dumb they are. I want to be tearing my hair out. I want to be like not able to sleep, eat, drink because all I can think about is how fucking dumb they are.
We need to still be employed.
I know, but like I need miscommunication out the ass. I need pining, yearning. I need requited, unrequited.
Yes.
I need NDE.
We need an NDE so bad.
Conscious NDE.
Yes.
feel like Buddy opening emergency, but the NDE, I feel like would be better end of season. Because I feel like there needs to be more build up before the NDE can really like make happen what needs to fucking happen.
Yeah, be the catalyst. Yeah.
Yes.
I think in terms of like my wish list stuff, again, I agree with like every single thing that you guys have put forward. Is something about like I'm trying not to hold on too tight, but I love the idea of Buck and Eddie just like trapped somewhere where they have to communicate and something has to like spill out of them, you know, like words, not any other gross stuff. I meant never mind.
No, sorry, I had a really stupid idea, which would be a silly, goofy, fun.
Anyone like bleeding out.
No,
not other stuff.
What if they got sent to a call where people are stuck in an escape room
and they have to communicate to get out together and work together?
Yeah,
I love that.
But it's just them and the other people in the escape room.
I actually just love the idea of an escape room because it's the same concept, right? It's trapped together in a place. You have to communicate in order to get out.
Yeah,
we're going to forget everything I just previously.
That's not how the internet works.
This is not on the internet yet. We have the power. I would like to see some stuff with Buddy, like a return to where they were kind of leading towards in 9, 10, 11. I think they really need to pick that up with a fervor.
They do.
Because with the Bobby stuff, you've lost a little bit of momentum there. So I think we really need to work on building that up again and quickly. And it can be separately. I would love to see more of an internal Eddie journey about like his sexuality. And this goes for like him making choices for himself or just like finding his identity now that he has Christopher back. I know they set it up kind of perfectly for 8, but we didn't really get a lot of movement on that. So I would love to see a redux of that on screen where we see the internal like gears turning in his head that leads to any kind of realization like that. Looking for joy. I would love to see, in terms of like buddy roommates, I would really like to see that. And I would like to see the reverse of 809 where either Buck isn't telling Eddie that he's moving and Eddie finds out, kind of like a reverse of 808, sorry. Or Eddie starts kind of sabotaging Buck's search for an apartment or anything like that. Maybe not in the same way because they're different and they operate differently like that. But I think that would be really fun to see as well. I would love to see more storylines, kind of like Hen in Invisible, or Hen, or anyone, just like these really little things that are so interesting, but like really fun character work that are also paralleled in or mirrored in the emergencies that we see. I think that was like really strong.
Both of Hen, Chim, and Maddie storylines that don't revolve around their significant other or kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like them as people. I would love to see that.
And finally, let's just please put Maddie out of her misery. I don't think she can go another season with having...
She needs to hear her brother say it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so she needs that. I don't think she can go another season trying to gently...
So patient.
Gently hold Buck's hand and be patient as she tries to lead him to the answer to all of his problems. But
which is right in front of him.
Which is right in front of him.
Eat a horse to water.
Can't make him drink. Don't drink the water.
She and Hen and Karen and whoever else is involved in that betting pool, they're gonna have celebratory drinks.
I would love to see a wine night.
Yeah.
With them. Yeah.
Oh my God. And they're all talking about Buck and Eddie and how stupid they are.
God.
Yeah. God.
Oh my God. Yeah. Just like a little like, oh my God, we need to gossip about them because they're driving us insane. Also just like different permutations of
all the combos
of characters. Yeah. Kind of like what you were saying.
Return to the found family of it all and like, but also new and improved where It's not just like the set dynamics that we have always been shown. Something I would love to see personally is, I guess this depends. I don't know. The roommates thing is like up in the air for me because I really don't know if they're going to have like Buck has moved all his stuff out, but is still sleeping on the couch until he finds a place. That might be what we're getting.
I think that would be my preference, but I'm open.
I don't think he's letting himself be alone with Eddie. I would love to see that. I would love to see him just like, for some subconscious reason, he doesn't want to be alone with Eddie. So he just invites Ravi to everything.
That would be so interesting.
I just think it would be hilarious because it would drive Eddie fucking bonkers.
Ravi's the one that traps them in the escape room.
He invites them to an escape room and then pays the person to not unlock it no matter what. And he doesn't show up.
Honestly,
or he just watches the feed.
I could kind of see that happening. Because we already know he did that to Buck with Tommy. They're like, he's not above that. And that would be some good payback, especially if it's like just the unspoken thing of nobody like meddles with the Buck and Eddie thing, and Ravi's like, screw that. Not like this is insane.
He's like, it hasn't been working out for you guys, so someone's gotta take a hit. Something else that I would love to see, and I keep saying this, but I'm gonna say it with a little bit of elaboration. Bachelor party flashback. Oh, specifically Eddie. Specifically
Always.
Eddie. I know this is delusion, but I'm just saying it on the off chance that it happens and I can be like, I told you.
Is it delusion or is it manifestation?
I don't know. The line is very thin.
I don't think it's delusion.
Okay, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I like to think that there was a little moment. Maybe a kiss, but there was a moment, right? And maybe Eddie remembers it because they like get blackout drunk again, or at karaoke, or at like a drag show, or something that would make that memory pop back into his head. Back Buck. Wow, that was
a
Freudian slip.
Something that would make it pop up into his head. And I just think that would be a fucking delicious like root cause of a gay panic.
That would be so fun.
It would be so fun because then we'd see him avoiding Buck. Have we ever seen him really avoid Buck before?
No, but I think that would be really interesting because we've talked about Buck hiding from Eddie, and it's happened twice with season 3, and we talked about it in our 303 episode, and we saw that in 809, and how those are kind of paralleled because he was worried about losing Eddie. And if we have a mirror kind of that of Eddie trying to avoid Buck because he's worried that he lied and things did actually change, and worried that he's going to, not only that he's going to lose his best friend, but like Christopher is going to lose like his pseudo parent, and oh my God, he's going to have to change the will again and just like spiral.
Also, I'm so sorry to anyone listening, or if this bothers, I don't think it's going to bother you guys. Sorry to anyone listening if I accidentally manifest this.
Oh no.
I would like to see it. I don't want to see this man again, but
I will accept this. Yes.
I don't want to see him again, but if you bring him back for one final device to plot. Him running into Eddie. Buck's not there. Him running into Eddie, like in the grocery store or something.
Oh my God, the grocery store would be funny.
Yes. And then he finds out, like Eddie makes a comment about how like Buck lives with him, or they live together. He's like, oh, Diaz, I heard you were back. Like, where does Evan live now? And he says something about them living together. And then Tommy says something about like, I was right.
Figured your shit out, sort of thing.
Something to allude to like, I was right. And him being like, what about what? I just think that would eat down bad. I don't want to see that man again, but like, I feel like it would be like,
that would be the final boss.
Yes.
Of him. Like the final evolution.
Because I feel like we could have been done with that if the last time we saw him was 11. But since we saw him again and again, for not really plot device. I mean, like it was plot device reason because they needed a helicopter pilot, but like that's never what he's been plot devising for. So I feel like we just got to bring him back one more time to just finish the job.
Let's do this.
I really think we do because I think he finished the job for
Buck.
Like, as far as Buck is going. It's like he started that
train on its tracks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now we need him to bonk Eddie on the head.
Yep.
Because that could start so many thoughts, not only of like, why did he see me as the competition, but why does he know that Buck was living in my house?
Mm-hmm. And then the whole thing comes just like unraveling and then another reason for like jealous Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And then the girls could be fighting again.
Oh my God.
Divorce 4.0.
I need like at least 2 more divorces next season.
And I think that's not like unreasonable because I think they really are like building up so much tension between them and we're really seeing we're just really seeing when they're like kind of on the same page, but they're also not.
Well, the thing is like, not to call back our own episode, but our own episode on 9 and 10 called We Can't Be Friends. We said this is a breakup. It is a breakup because that's the end of their friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're right, because have we seen them operate even like remotely normally since then?
No.
Everything has been married as fuck behavior, and nothing's even been like normal-ish for them kind of friends.
No.
So I think that's just going to continue to like be more and more apparent to everyone, especially
in the room,
the general audience. Like that's who we're doing this for.
Yes. Like kind of almost pandering towards the GA when we look back at 18 and that like prolonged eye contact stuff. Very intentional, very like held for a while. And I think we can see more of that. And just again, like the requited, unrequited, just like glancing, looking away when they think, or looking towards each other when they think the other one isn't looking back. And yeah, I think there's a lot they could play with that with the tension.
I'm just writing the season in my head now. Tommy plot device is the thing, right?
Yeah.
He can't talk to Buck about it. Who does he go and talk to about it?
Hen.
Yes.
Maddie.
Hen.
Both would be good, but yes, Hen, I think is the secondary when he can't talk to Buck.
Hen is a better person for him to talk to anyway, because he needs someone who gives straightforward advice, and Maddie does not.
No, he needs straightforward advice on being gay. So Hen is the best person for that, obviously.
For one Kinsey 6 to another. Yeah.
So
well, anyway,
I'm sure we'll come up with more stuff as
I think
summer
we're
goes
going
on.
to do like a closer to the season 9 premiere, do a special episode where we do kind of look at like more in depth, like, hey, here are the things that we would like to see this season.
And by then we'll probably have a little more, because like the writers will be back or have been back. They'll probably, depending on when we do it, they might be filming already, but we'll have probably a little more press. We'll have some behind the scenes stuff. So we might be able to make some educated guesses.
Maybe we'll have a synopsis for the premiere.
We'll get promo stuff. We'll get press, and then we'll be able to be like, okay, so these are the dots we are connecting from like the very minimalist of dots. It'll be our red string corner.
So I think that's all for our wrap. We are gonna, as we mentioned, be doing some minisodes or specials on other things about season 8. If there's anything we talked about that you have more ideas about the parallels, other meta, or anything like that, please leave a comment and let us know, because we would love to hear about it, know about it, talk about it.
Either Instagram, Twitter, TikTok,
and the Spotify and Apple podcast section.
Please leave us comments. We love to read them, and we'll take like any suggestions like into consideration. Yeah, but I think we've got some fun stuff that we've got planned that we want to get into. Remember, don't rewatch season 8.
But if you do,
take a buddy with you.
Thank you for listening to the Buddy System podcast from start to finish.
We literally cannot shut up about 911, so please come talk to us on your favorite social media platform.
We're at Buddy System Pod everywhere. That's BUDDIE System Pod.
Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to get a personal shout out in the next episode. The Buddy System is a Nerdvergent media production featuring music from Divinity.
Can't get enough of the buddies? Subscribe to our Patreon for access to exclusive content in our Discord community.
Catch you next time, and don't forget,
Bring a buddy with you.